11 o'clock.
We're live. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? Oh. Hey, DC Reefer sent me a message. Quit, and try again. Happens to me all the time. Now, DC, I invited DC Reefer, but he says his app is taking a while to load. All right, my wife said, "Hey Tom, hey Click Clacks. All right, I'm gonna move to another location." All right, guys, I was sequestered to my kids' room because my wife says she has a lot of things to do. So, hey, Paul, are you ready? Hey, Click Clacks. Hey, Tom. Yeah, let me just try and get. Yeah, guys, today we want to talk about Triton. So, any questions anyone has about Triton, feel free to let us know. Hey, you see that? The ATO on my nano tank is give me 1 second. Yeah, the ATO on my nano. Weird. Hey Ryan, the ATO on my nano is not working. I just noticed. Ooh. Sorry. All right. Hey, what's up, Aquarium Cabinet Solutions? Hey, Reef Keeper. He said, "I'm ready to hear the talk on the crystals of bullshit." Reef Keeper with the early morning trolling.
Already trolling you? Oh.
Yeah, no, man. This is who you don't expect it from, man. You don't expect it to hear from Reef Keeper. You don't expect to hear it from Reef Keeper.
Hey, Paul, what do you call these again? What do you guys call these? Biscuits?
Biscuits.
Okay. I'm having some biscuits this morning.
Yeah. With a cup of tea or coffee.
Yeah. I think I'm going to do that. Definitely with tea. I love tea. So, what's going on, my proper Triton brothers?
Good. Oh, there's an LFS not far from me. They've started doing the refills for Triton. Whoop, whoop.
Greetings from Charlotte, North Carolina. Everybody in the chat. Got a chance to meet Tristan's Reef yesterday. Went over his house and spent about an hour or so over there. And, saw his beautiful tank. Yes, he has a nice display tank that he's about to upgrade. He's upgrading that tank from. It's only been set up for like 8 months, but it's really nice. So I took some video of that. You
gonna put that out? Were you wearing a Muhammad Ali T-shirt?
Yeah, the chain.
Right, Seymour, it's your stream. Get your picture on this telly, on the screen.
My picture? I'm on the telly, buddy.
You're on the telly. You're on now. All right, you went on, and now it is. So you're all right.
All right, DC.
Right.
Did you actually start your tank on Triton yet?
No.
I haven't. All right.
No, but the good thing is he can ask questions, no?
Yeah, that's the good thing, man. So why don't we start by Paul, tell us a little bit about your system. It's my stream, so I asked the question. So Paul, tell me a little bit about your system.
As in,
No, tell us a little bit about it. How long it's been up? How long you've been running the Triton? How do you like it? You could walk over and kind of show photos if you want, video of the tank if you want to while you're talking, or you could do the hot tub, whichever one for you.
Sounds good to me. So let's go in the garden. Right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
I put headphones in. Am I right? Right, so the system I've got here is, I'd say it's about 2 years, 2 months. So, you know what I mean? Old. I'd say about 30 months old. But I did change the actual aquarium itself, the display tank, in January, like at the beginning of January. I've been running Triton now since, I think it was February of last year. I'd say it's about 60% dominated SPS. What else do you want me to tell you? It's hard when you don't give me a specific question to ask. I'm really rubbish at it.
Yeah, all right.
Specific question.
Let me start then. Let me start then. I think a lot of you guys know about my system. Hey, Dr. Welsh. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Tina. I'm going to open it up for everyone first. I just wanted to kind of get, just kind of talk a little bit.
Triton only.
Yeah, Triton only.
Triton only.
We can talk about filtration. I think filtration and all that stuff is going to come into Triton because that's a big part of Triton. And we had the talk on my Thursday live stream. We got into talking about no water changes, some other things. So Triton's not only it's not only about Triton and the solutions. It could also be we're going to talk about filtration and a bunch of other things. All right. Give me a second. Let me. I just possibly want to get Nick in here, but let me see if I can get Nick the link.
See, you got metals here. Metals reef tank. Triton cartons suck. They wanted picked on leaking cartons. One, if I was going to do a replacement, I'd want a picture of the leaking cartons too, just to cover me back. Otherwise, everyone will just say the carton's leaking, and they'll end up getting free ones. So that I would ask. But I think eventually, most like major LFSs in your area that stock Triton will have the refills eventually. There's one of our local LFSs I found out today. They've just got the refills. You could just take your empty cartons there or empty bottles and get them refilled.
So that's a good place to start because that's also I didn't want to start out on a kind of negative note, but anyway, it was going to come up anyway. But that's one of the things here that's one of the issues we kind of have here in the US, Paul, versus you guys here. You can go to your local LFS and pick up Triton. For the most part, we can't do that. I'm in New York, and I think the distributors of Triton in the US is.
It's locked on DC.
Is it locked on DC?
Yeah. Is it?
No, it's not.
It's not. It might just be mine. I might be a bit lagging behind on YouTube.
Yeah. There's only one LFS I know, that local fish store that sells Triton, and that's Manhattan Aquariums. And that's because it's the same guy owns Unique Corals and Manhattan Aquariums, and that's why they get it. So I'm in New York. Luckily, that was my LFS anyway, but it's not like DC. I don't think DC has an LFS that you can go to pick up Triton. I think all of us, the majority of people, like I just happen to be lucky because I'm in New York, but I think the majority of people, they have to order it online from Bold Creek Supply, and I think 2 other places that sell it. Unique Corals, Bold Creek Supply, and there's another place that sells it. Yeah, I think that's just one of the that's one of the negatives that we have here. It's not really available. But yeah,
that's a big concern. That's a definite concern of mine because well, when I researched a lot of stuff, and initially I was going to run Triton just for the lagoon, because I guess I drank the Kool-Aid about the whole no water changes, but after listening to a couple of strains, I never, and that's a problem that I should have researched myself. knowing what I should know about Triton instead of just listening to streams and listening to you guys, because that everything is anecdotal when it comes to YouTube and stuff like that. So, but the idea, even though I do want to get away from water changes, because I'm in an apartment, and it's really a burden to do a water change instead of a part of maintenance. It's tough, when you got limited space. So and like I said, let me back up. I said I wanted to do Triton for the lagoon because it was at my job. I kind of thought, no water changes. I could run this on a dose to, I don't have to be there to, I could leave work and not be worried about my tank. So, I had to shut the lagoon down. Now I got the big tank. Now I got all these Triton bottles. And I'm like, where do I start? And I've been talking to O and different people about, getting started on Triton. So I'm running the other methods, and I think I'm gonna stick with that because I do have a nice size refugium, but it's not it doesn't dominate my sump. But I'm gonna stick with the other method just simply because every time I go to order, it's available for the most part. Now I think the Triton Core 7 that promotes the algae growth, that's the one that's never in stock. So even though that's a negative, like a lot of people say, I can't get my Triton. So I haven't experienced that yet. So I'm hoping I don't with the other methods.
From what Paul is Paul is using the other methods, and to be honest, he started his refugium about a week ago, and he's already amazed by the growth he got from just a week or whatever he's been running his Triton. So I think that's another question I guess I need to ask. What's the big difference between, I think they say they put some elements in. Paul, you're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you.
Good point. I think it's iodine and something else. That's what it is for the algae, for the algae growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's what it's. I'll just text another lad. But there's another lad that I know that does it. What's that?
Yeah, I think iron also. You know what?
Iron and iodine. That's what's in them. That's the extra things that's in them. There's a lad that I know that runs. He's got a full refugium, and he refuses to use the full Triton method on it because he said when he was doing the full Triton one, he was seeing algae growth in his main display. So he stopped, changed to the other methods, and he only got the algae growth in his refugium, which is booming.
I experienced the same thing, but I thought it was because I was using a Chaeto reactor. Because a Chaeto reactor was keeping the nutrients low, but I thought, it wasn't this big algae bed that was soaking up all the nutrients all the time, and it encouraged. And by the way, we said algae growth. I wasn't getting hair algae or anything. It was like this weird red algae, and it wasn't an issue. It was just unsightly. And when I put urchins in, urchins totally kind of cleaned that up. So it wasn't anything bad that was irritating. It wasn't hair algae. It was just this unsightly, this unsightly, weird, algae, red. It was almost like this encrusting, it's almost like hair algae, except it wasn't long, stringy. But I'm using the main Core 7, and now that I have a big refugium, I'm getting no algae in the display at all. Hey, Woody, welcome. Thanks for joining.
It's all right, mate. Anytime.
All right. Yeah, I've been doing Triton. Woody. Yeah. I've been doing Triton for, I think, since last October. I'm going to say last August or so, I put my tank on Triton. And I was coming from Zeovit. And I was looking, again, I got caught up into the whole no water change thing, which, listen, anything I could do to eliminate or reduce water changes, you were going to sell me on it. I had a nice tank. I had a Zeovit tank. I was running Zeovit at the time, which was expensive, but
Superchat.
Oh, was there
already? Nice.
What? Wait, what? Wait, I can't see anything.
DFW Reefer.
What? Oh man, I had a chat.
Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, DFW. Oh man, I had an old chat up. Why was my chat? Thank you very very much. Thank you, DFW Reefer. Thank you. So that man, I missed all these questions that people were saying. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, guys. So yes, I had Zeovit. I think I did some calculations.
Whoa, super chat.
Woody. Thank you, Woody. Thank you very much.
Woody.
I appreciate that.
Woody has 50K in his socks.
No, his back pocket. His back pocket, not his sock.
What time is it, Woody?
Oh man. But for me, man, Triton was a lot less expensive than Zeovit. I think I calculated it, and gosh, I hope my wife isn't listening again. But between it cost me $1,200 to run Zeovit for the first year, because that's not counting dosing pumps, because you need dosing pump. So between getting a reactor, and it's a Zeovit specific reactor. So if you're not running Zeovit, you don't need that reactor. So everything that is specifically needed for Zeovit, so between the Zeovit reactor, the Zeo rocks, the Zeo supplements are expensive. Between the Zeovit, everything was like $1,200, and you still needed to do periodic water changes. And Triton, for me, I need 2.5 bottles per year, 2 bottles a year if I'm using like 6 mils a day like I am now. So 2 bottles a year comes out to $112 for us. What is it, 52? $104.
Yeah, over here, it's £29 at the minute. So what, 58 quid?
So
it's about $70, $80.
So to go from, that's like almost a 10 time, to go from 104 coming from like 1,1300, that's a big drop. And Zeovit was very involved.
Did the price drop when they changed the cartons?
No.
See, they dropped over. Yeah, they dropped the price by £4 nearly.
Yeah, I think it did that £32 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was $32.99 or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yes,
I think you should talk about. I think you should talk about, since you talked about how much would start up Zeovit. For somebody that's new, that's looking to start up Triton, how much would that normally cost?
To start up Triton, all you need is a dosing pump, and that's it. Just an accurate dosing pump. And I would say,
so which dosing pump would you recommend?
Look behind you.
Hey, what's up? What's up, guy?
So he
slowly walked in the room.
This is his room. I'm hiding out in the kids' room. So I've used the Coral Box doser. I've used the Neptune Systems doser. I've used the GHL doser. I've used, man, you name it. I think I've used it or I've tried it.
Well, since we're talking about budget, since we're talking about budget friendly, if I was on a budget, which doser would you steer me towards?
The Coral Box doser.
Yeah, I have the J-Ball one. And I wouldn't suggest using the J-Ball one for Triton. That's my opinion, because you can only dose in 1 mils and they're not very accurate. That's the cheapest pump you can buy.
The Coral Box doser, I don't think is accurate when you're trying to dose like less than 1 mil. But Aquarium Cabinet Solutions, Nick, what he suggested is I dilute the Triton solutions, whether you dilute it by, like half Triton solutions, half RODI water, and then double the dose. So that kind of helped. In fact, that helped me a couple of ways. One, I was getting precipitation, because where I was dosing in my sump, it wasn't a high enough flow area. So I was getting like my alkalinity was unstable because it wasn't mixing properly. So that helped me 2 ways. One thing, I was able to dose, instead of 1 mil, I was able to dose 2 mils at a time, which the dosing pump is more accurate, the higher amounts. And then also I didn't get that precipitation because Triton is super concentrated. Also on my little nano, well, this is not going to run on Triton, but the previous nano I diluted it by 4. 3 parts water, 1 part Triton, and I quadruples the dose. And because it was a nano, I needed it to mix fast. So that worked well on my nano tanks. So I think I've never used the Jabo doser. I know it's hard. I've had my hands on one before. I know it's very hard to program, but the GHL doser is accurate in micro elements. I know the Neptune Systems dose is very accurate to small amounts. The Coral Box doser is accurate. I just wouldn't do less than a mil at a time. I would dilute it to make sure you try to do 1 or 2 mils at a time. And then I just made my own.
Okay.
Previously, I was dosing when Triton used to do the bottles. I don't have one here. I was dosing out of the bottles, but I made my own dosing containers off of Voss bottles, and that's easy because then you could just look at them and see if they're dosing correctly, how much solution you have left, when you need to top up. So yeah, I think the only piece of equipment is needed is an accurate doser.
Okay.
There's nothing special that you need.
The GHL the best, would you say?
I would say the GHL and the Neptune Systems doser are neck and neck. The thing is, space in my cabinet is a premium, so the GHL doser is smaller. So I prefer the GHL doser because it's smaller. But the Neptune Systems, it can do small elements, it can do water changes. So I can't say one is better than the other. For my application where I need space, the GHL is better. GHL is definitely better. What dose are you using, Woody?
I've got the Kamara, the X4.
Ah, that's the same one that Michael's using, right?
Yeah, same one.
Yeah, and you like it?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad at all.
Is that a good recommendation or not bad? It's just like,
well, I have problems with the like the Wi-Fi drops out on it every now and again. I have to keep resetting the Wi-Fi every couple of weeks or whatever.
That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. See, the software on if you're a Neptune head, the Neptune Systems dose is going to be awesome.
It's only 2 heads, though, isn't it? That's just, you have to have 2 of them, and there's a lot of space.
You know what? That's something I forgot to touch on. Yes, you only get 2 heads for $300, while the DHL doser for X amount of dollars. My wife's listening, so I'm going to try to not say prices as much as possible. For X amount of dollars more, for $5 more, you get 4 dosing heads. Yeah, listen, man.
How do you find out how much to dose?
It's just like any other 2-part. So let me just I think the biggest issue I did with my tank was when I was getting off a Zeovit and going on Triton, I just basically ripped out the Zeovit one day and put the Triton on the next day, which was a big mistake. That was the beginning of like a 6-month hell for my tank. And I think now my tank is just starting to recover from that because I'll try to find some pictures while we're talking, but I think that's the best period I've had in my tank. That's the best period I've had in my tank at all. Zeovit was the best.
How did you feel about like you like you said you drunk the Triton Kool-Aid, right? And then you automatically just switched from Triton to Zeovit. So was you feeling confident in Triton at the time, knowing that your tank was declining?
No, my tank declined because I went from Zeovit to Triton. That was the beginning.
Okay, so you never blame like Triton. You never was like, man, I should have stuck with Zeovit. Did you have any like regrets? Because I'm just being honest. Like for me, I'd have been like, damn, I would kind of regret, getting off of Zeovit if I would have saw a decline. But I mean, I guess you was being transparent with yourself and saying it was totally my fault. I should have weaned my way off of Zeovit.
I've seen too many awesome tanks with too many different methods to be able to blame one method for something. Of course, we're all biased to certain things, certain brands, certain everything. But I haven't been in the hobby too long. But I've been to a lot of different shows. I've seen a lot of hobbyist tanks. And I've seen people have awesome tanks on methods that I would say, man, this dude is crazy to blame. Plus, I had a conversation with Ryan from BRS last year at Reefapalooza, and I felt confident. If the BRS team was going to be doing it and I was going to be following, and the way BRS is, you can call them up and ask them questions about how things are going. I felt confident. Plus, Nick is somebody that recommended Triton to his customers. I didn't know Woody was doing Triton at the time, but I know Paul was doing Triton. So there were people on the live streams and elsewhere that were doing Triton that I was confident I'd be able to get some answers for. Hey Tristan, thank you, Chris Fishroom. Thank you very much for that super chat, man.
I think that's the biggest thing with like switching to another method is the confidence level. A lot of people that I've been talking to, it's funny because I haven't even started Triton. I've been like a mouthpiece for Triton, just based off of the people that I've noticed doing it, saying how much they love it. So, I feed off of energy, so I'm that type of person. But I think with Triton, or any method that you choose, even if it's Triton, Aquaforce, Red Sea, whatever method you choose, it has to be a confidence. You have to feel a certain confidence in that product. Now, it doesn't help that Triton doesn't stock leaky containers. It don't help the cause. So I'm like you. Oh, you pulling for Triton. It's like I'm waving the pom flags. Like everybody get on Triton. And I think and I still think the good outweighs the bad. And I haven't, like I said, I haven't tried it yet. But I've been doing my research, reading, listening, and stuff like that. So I really believe the good outweighs the bad. But I just want to touch on the whole if anybody's new to water chemistry, let's say that, not even new to the hobby, just the water chemistry, having a certain confidence in a method is very important.
Yeah, I agree. And knowing somebody, like, it doesn't have to be live stream, but if you know someone locally, I'm going to say if someone's at your fish store that you trust, or there's another hobbyist that you trust, if there's another hobbyist that you trust that's next to you, or you have a family member that's reefing and they doing a particular method, I would say try to go to that method, because then I think you can mimic what they're doing, I think you can not only mimic, but you can get advice from them. Like, I'm on the live stream. I think I'm going to be on the live streams for years and years, because this is my hobby. But I might not be available when you need help. But if you have a family member or somebody that's doing a particular method, we can be successful with all these methods, man. It's just, for me, Triton was the one that kind of fit my lifestyle. Zeovit was going to be unsustainable. I think I've told the story before where I went out of town. I think I went to Syracuse, and I had my wife dose like some of the Zeovit stuff. And when I came back, the tank wasn't looking so pretty. And I said, hey, did you dose the Zeo thing? She said, yeah, I dosed the blue Zeo thing on the window. I was like, which one did you dose? She said, the blue Zeo thing on the window. And I went to the window, and then I looked at the window. I was like, oh, shoot. There's like 4 or 5 different Zeo things. There's Zeo back, Zeo food, Zeo start, like all these Zeo things that are called Zeo. So when I told her dose the Zeo thing, she listened. She followed my advice and dosed the Zeo thing, but they were all named Zeo something. So that was going to be unsustainable to kind of keep. It was very involved. It was a very involved process. But the one thing about
There's no way you can put that on a doser?
Some of it you can put on a doser, some you can't. And then even when I tried to put some of my stuff on a doser, because it's carbon dosing. Zeovit is a form of carbon dosing. My solutions went bad because then I would see, like, how sometimes, for those of you that have done carbon dosing, sometimes in your sump you can see a buildup of this like white ball material, white stringy material. It's not bad. You just remove it. But when you carbon dose, some of you have carbon dose have seen it. I saw like little bacteria and things. Like, basically the solution started getting cloudy over time in the actual dosing container itself. So when that happened and that stuff is expensive, DC. Like, we're talking like $50. And then you dilute it with RODI water, you put it in a container, and then when that stuff goes bad, there's $50 going bad, man. Yeah. And after I burned through $100, I wasn't going to do it anymore. So hey Nick, I know Nick just messaged me. Hey Nick, I'm gonna put the link in the chat again if you want to jump in.
How do you start dosing it?
Wait, I can't hear you. You're below the mic.
How do you start it? Like the question before, how would you start off with it? You need to keep your pH at 8. You're gonna start off like that and then.
Well, The way I did it, I just ripped out Zeovit one day and put Triton. That's not the way to do it at all. If you're on another method, I would do a series of like water changes to kind of balance your system. But basically, what you need to do is just put, if your calcium, magnesium, and alkalinity are all within like the ratio where they should be, I would put the Triton method on and start lower. I think I calculated Triton on the bottle tells you how much you need to dose to raise a certain.
They said 2 mil per 100 litres
Mhm.
on the bottle, so that's what it says. But I started, mine's a 350. I started with 2 mil for my entire tank.
Yeah, I did. I started half of what they recommended, and then what I did is I slowly upped the dose until I got to where it stayed stable at about 8.5. So that's what I did. So basically, I should have done a series of water changes, and then I started half. And like any other method, whether you do it bulk, two-part, or anything, what you have to do is test every day at about the same time for a few days until you're sure that you're dialing the dosing. So if you start at 2 mils, if you know you're 8.5 at 12 o'clock today, and then tomorrow you start Triton and you start at half the recommended dose today, and tomorrow it's held steady. You don't do anything, and then you test the next day. And then whether it's high or low, you adjust the dose based on that.
Let me ask you this. Hold on one second, Paul. Let me ask you. So you said test every day at the same time for a couple days or a week. Like, give me some numbers.
It usually take it. Listen, I was doing
the best way to do it is test your tank one day, right? Then do it over a 2-day period. So don't test it the second day. Test it the third day. If it's then you can divide it by 2. So you don't. Well, I won't do it daily. You don't like personally. You wouldn't have to do it daily. But the first thing you've got to do is make sure you spread it over the 24 hours you're dosing. Otherwise, it's gonna like. I can never say that word. Say it, Seymour.
Precipitate.
That word. Yeah, that word. Right. Otherwise, it'll do that in the water. You've got to spread it over 24 hours. So if you're doing 6 mil, if you can do half doses, like 0.5 doses, do 0.5. A few hours later, 0.5. A few hours later, 0.5. You can only do 1 mil. You do it at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clook. You know what I mean? Do it like that. Just try to spread it around the 24-hour period. Dosage.
I think, and I'm glad put this live stream up, and I suggested on Paul's channel that we do like a Trite Thursday or something right before Tech Talk Thursday or something like that. But between you, Nick, you, Paul, you, Michael Ernst, I think we should come up with some type of community guide, for a beginner starting off on Triton, exactly what you guys recommend to do. So between you guys, the 4 of you that's definitely running Triton, to come up with something that somebody can refer to, not just going on the internet, but I'm talking about real time user experience. I do this a lot with, and I'm pretty sure other people do it with Amazon. They'll look at a product but go straight to the reviews, because that's coming from people that actually use the product, not just what the company said, because they steer it to what they're liking. But I don't have a problem like reading what Triton recommends, but I want to get it from real time users. So let's just like take it step by step. Because you on one end saying Paul tests every other day, and then O saying test every day. And then you got another person. So it's really confusing for the new user to what advice to actually take. So can y'all find some type of common ground where it's agreeable, where this is most likely the best method?
Well, both ways. You can do it both ways, absolutely perfectly. You can test it at 12 o'clock one day, 12 o'clock the day after, 12 o'clock the day after. But the way I find it, it's better doing it over a 3-day period, because just say one day it drops 0.5 UKH, but the day after it drops 1. Within that 3-day period, you can balance it out perfectly. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's why I like to do it over a 3-day period. And I've always every time
personal. But are you saying that's personal preference, or is that something that you would recommend?
That's the way I got taught when I first started reefing. That's the way that I know the reefers do it around my area.
when the start, do you know, like before I started trying, I was using Reef Flowers. Like I think it's a German brand. I was using Reef Flowers, and I did it with that over a 3-day period. Testing my KH, didn't test it the day after. Then I tested it the day after that. Then I divided it, and then I figured out how much KH I was dropping over that many days. So that's when I could like process how much KH I was using.
And I would probably recommend Paul's method. The thing is, I'm always home, so I have more time on my hands. So maybe that's why I do it every day. But I tend to not adjust until the second or third day. So if I was recommending to a newbie, I probably would recommend Paul's method. But I test when I'm dialing in something, I test every day. But if I see a drop one day to the next, like a half a DKH, I wouldn't necessarily adjust the dosage, that same day. I would wait until the second day and then sort of adjust the dosing then.
Yeah, just say it's 0.5 one day, and the day after it's 0.7. You know that if you did a 0.6, you're bang in the middle of both. So it should keep it level the way it was on.
Yeah, it usually takes me, I don't see it being more than a week once I think even when I was doing BRS2 part and I was doing Zeovit, no, I think Zeovit, you needed it to bring your own KH and calcium, so that doesn't count. But when I was doing bulk 2 part, it still only took me like about a week before I could reasonably dial in. And that's why it's hard when you overdose and you have precipitation, it's harder to dial in your dosing. That's why whatever the manufacturer recommends a starting dose, I always start lower, way lower than what they recommend. It's easier to adjust up than it is because then you don't know what your tank is using and what's precipitating out. So I tend to like to start lower.
Yeah. Got a question in here. It says, if you're setting up a new tank, would you start using Triton?
Yes.
I would, but I wouldn't start the Triton as I set the new tank up. I'd wait till the fish are in, the corals have settled down, because obviously it's not going to be using anything without corals in. So there's no point in starting it too early and wasting it. Might as well start it as you start putting SPS, LPS in your tank, what are going to start using the stuff.
Yeah, because sometimes water changes. If you're just putting softies and easy polyps and stuff, sometimes water changes are just easier to just maintain that tank versus, yeah,
I would. If I had softies in there, I wouldn't use Triton. I'd just use water changes, and I suggest that to anyone. Just use water changes with softies, especially if you've got toadstools and things like that, because the smell they produce and the crap that comes off them. Water changes is the best bet, in my opinion. Would you suggest that, Nick?
Yeah, really, the Triton, you're looking for using that on systems when there's large uptake. That's what it's for. Because if you've got a big system where you've got corals taking up a lot of trace elements, and doing such big water changes is really going to be, a lot of volumes of water, then it just makes sense to replace what's being used, right? There is a few other things with it as well that, they've got macrofauna and algae, macroalgae supplementation. So a lot of people talk to me about Triton trace element replenishment, but actually, if you read into it, Triton is actually a holistic approach. It's not just the trace elements, it's ionically balanced. It's got, stuff in there to help your algae and help macrofauna. And recently, for me in my hobbying, my reefing hobby, there's much more focus now on not just the chemistry. It's much more. I'm focusing much more on the biology of things. So, bacterias, zooplankton, phytoplankton, macrofauna, and I'm starting to see that it's playing. I didn't realise how crucial a part of system control that was before until recently. So a lot of issues that people face aside from nutrient replenishment, bacteria, macrofauna, and zooplankton actually play a big role in that to help you prevent you from having those issues and maintaining your system. So what I'd like to see with the Triton is people really harness the full potential of it.
because at the moment a lot of people are just looking for it to replace a two-part system or water changes, etc. When actually that's just part of Triton. You know, there's much more that you can get out of it. So if you can get your head around the actual dosing and using of it, and then look into it, the full potential benefits of using Triton, you'll unleash a whole different area to your reefing hobby that you might not have touched on before. If that makes
hold
sense.
up, Nick. Right, I see what you're saying. You trying to unleash a beast, but we trying to. I'm trying to baby step right now into Triton. So I'm not
No,
ready.
I agree,
I think
DC. And I think for yourself, part of it is like you say, baby steps. But try not to think
I'm
of
not gonna
it
limit
as
myself.
this
Well,
big
yeah,
thing.
I
Yeah,
never
as
put.
this big
I
thing.
never put a cap. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's just that for the. I guess I really consider myself a newbie, man. I want to stay that way, that mind frame of being a new reef. I like that, I like how that makes me feel, like, because I always want to learn. So with Triton, it seems, and I say for the new person, and I can only speak for me, I can say it seems intimidating, but it seems complex. So I want to know, that's why I said between the guys that's doing it, to really walk a person through with the live streams, with the literature, not just rely on I guess trial and error or something that you have to read on the website. That you guys come up with something collectively where it's almost dummy proof, where a person can really just get on it and roll with it. Now like I said, that's a person's choice, because to me, Triton is a new thing. I think O said it when BRS puts something out. It's almost like the Bible, like religion, and everybody jumps on it. Everybody drinks the Kool-Aid. But I haven't seen a BRS video on Triton in months. So it's like they got me to believe in this, and then they left me out here to stranded. So it's like
Right.
Yeah,
a
I
lot
can
of you guys
understand.
talk about it, and it work. And y'all saying it's working, but we need some guidance. We need some real guidance, not just do this. Like we need it on paper, we need it on video, we need it because like I said, I search YouTube and I don't see a proper step by step people using Triton. I mean, I just don't see it.
You know what? I can't speak for BRS, but I'll tell you what. I don't know if it's a proper step by step, but I did shoot a video of like my experiences transitioning to Triton and what kind of equipment I switched and how I got to, the video is about 3 or 4 months old. So maybe I'll have to update it before I publish it. But the thing is, I felt kind of guilty publishing it when Triton's not available, you know, here. Like I wouldn't want, I'm being honest. Like I'd feel guilty publishing that video talking about here's I moved my system to Triton, even though it's a video I shot maybe last October, I edited last October or wherever. But because it's not available for people to go out and purchase, I just feel a little bit guilty just publishing that video. So maybe that's one of the reasons I haven't done more. Triton specific videos on my channel. Well, I haven't done much videos, period. So that's part of my excuse.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and that's the thing about it. That's the thing about it. Oh, like we got to be careful of what we advocate, because we, even though sometimes we don't think our platform is huge, it is. You could have somebody watching your video and say, "Man, if I'm living in an apartment, I want to try it myself." And then they lurk on the live streams and this and that, and they hear the good stuff about Triton. They hear, "Oh man, it's working for Michael, it's working for Paul," and we don't follow up. If we doing the community a disservice in a way. It's like I think that's why with the honesty thing, even though I mean you're not in charge of stock and Triton though, but it's still up to us that's doing that method, and you advocating to keep the community, I guess informed, this is what it is, and I still recommend it, but I understand it's not in stock or whatever, whatever like that. That's my goal, what I'm saying. I'm really preaching to myself if something I do and I have an influence, I want to be able to be honest with that audience and and be able to stand behind it, because I mean that's what we got as our platform is kind of like our word. Our channel is our word, so we got to be mindful of that.
I hear you. I hear you, DC. I hear
So I'm
you.
putting the pressure on you, I'm putting the pressure on you. If you
What
go,
about
you
Paul,
go.
man? Woody's there too. Woody does Triton too.
Nah, we an American, man, so we can't. We got to hold it down for.
DC's my
this
brother.
side.
He's not going to start on me.
That's right. Woody's my brother. No problem with Woody. Oh yeah.
Where's this triangle going? What with a triangle relationship?
It went downhill now. Yeah. Overall, though, if you're asking me overall, other than the supply stuff, am I happy with Triton? Absolutely. I haven't completely eliminated water changes from my repertoire. Like whenever I have issues, I do water changes. Whenever I do that Triton test, that ICP test, and I get like the macro elements are off, I do water changes. Something's going back bad in my tank, I do water changes. So no, I haven't eliminated water changes from my repertoire. What I've eliminated is that 2 weeks, every week, every 2 weeks, once a month, 20-30% water change to lower nutrients or keep nitrates and phosphates in balance. Those I've eliminated because I don't need to. Because now that my refugium is up and running, I don't have high nitrates, high phosphates. So that I've eliminated. I haven't eliminated water. When there's an issue, man, I still do water changes. I break out. The thing is, outside of my fire escape, I still bring those bad boys in, and I set up my RODI system. I've bought the 150 gallon per day reef saver, upgrade for my BRS RODI, and I make water. I can make water fast. So I still do those water changes, but the every week, weekly type of thing to maintain trace elements and to lower nitrates, phosphates, those I don't do. And to be honest, I don't miss them at all, man. I don't miss them. It's a pain with kids running around. I don't miss them at all. So that I've eliminated, and that I'm happy for. That I'm absolutely happy for. If though you are gonna do if you're doing what I do, it does make sense to kind of do buy a salt that matches your parameters very closely. So that's another thing you have to think about. The fact that you're not going to be doing maybe that weekly slow water change, 5, 10, 15%, that when you do them, they're probably going to be big. I keep my DKH at about 8.5. So you really need to get a salt that matches your DKH as close as possible. So I think Tropic Marin is between 8 and 9. I think it's a little bit less than 8, but you can use that one and then buffer it. I'm using Fritz now, which is between 8 and 9, the Fritz RPM. I know in the UK, Triton has a salt. But hey, what salt do you use, Paul? What salt you use, Woody?
I use APM Fritz. That's right. ATM and Fritz.
What do you use, Woody?
Nothing.
I think Woody uses natural seawater. The Royal Navy brings him airlifts in water.
I think he does.
I'm using
He's using natural seawater.
Yeah,
I ordered the Tropic Marin salt. So once I get back in town, my first water change will be probably on Tuesday. So I think I'm gonna do 10 gallons. I don't know. I'm kind of unsure. What you guys think? My system is 105 gallons display, which probably maybe 90 gallons, with the rock and the sand. Then I got another 20 gallons of sump. So I'm looking at about 120 gallons.
You have corals in there? You have corals in there?
Oh yeah.
I have a 91 total gallons, and right now I'm dosing 6 mils. I'm not saying match me, but I'm using.
No, I'm talking about on the water change side. Like, how many gallons of water change should I do to start getting ready for Triton? Start getting ready to dose Triton.
DC, do you know what in your system when you say getting your system Triton ready?
Right.
It's not a case of because I see this a lot in the hobby. It's like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Right? It's not a case of what you're doing. It's a case of where your system is at. How do you know what to do unless you know where your system is at?
Well,
do you understand what I mean?
This, Nick, is because I do. Yeah, you're right. I don't know where my system at.
So why do we water test? Yeah, why do we water test? Right, to see where the system is at. So you go straight into right. Well, I'll do this. I would do if it was me, I would do this. Well, how can I tell you what to do because I don't know where your system is at? And if I did try to tell you what to do, then am I being a good friend by doing that?
No. What I'm
see what I
mean? Right. Even if I'm in good standings with my water chemistry, and I tested it, even doing a water change, would that hurt anything? Is any situation we're doing
right?
Okay.
This is where I've seen this situation before. People have said, "Oh, there's something wrong with my system," and they say, "Okay." Point blank, it's like, right, do a water change. Yeah, the default is do a water change because it's always going to make things better. So you're replenishing something that's missing, you're diluting something that's been taken out. The whole problem with that, though, is one of the very reasons that Triton was created was because every time you do a water change, you're taking a risk because you're trusting that the salt in that bucket is right. The very reason you could be having that problem is because of the salt in the bucket. So guess what? You do a water change, you just made it worse. So you've always got to fall back onto knowledge. You've got to fall back onto knowledge. You've got water test kits, you've got ICP, you've got all these things. I don't like water testing myself because I see that people rely on test kits to run their system. Don't run your system by testing. Run your system by methodology and routine and maintenance. The test isn't to tell you what's happening. The test is for you to say, my nitrate should be here because of what I'm doing. I'm now going to test the water to check that it's where it should be. If it's not, then it should be like, why? Do you see what I mean? So it's like coming from it from an opposite point of view with the testing. Not to tell you where things are, but to where it should be.
But let me say this, Nick, because I think Reef Dudes made a point where I was going to go there, but it's going to open a whole nother can of worms, which I'm sure we could go ahead and address it. You said, we shouldn't run our tanks off of trusting the test kits. I mean, we could do that. What if we don't trust the Triton, what's in the bottles or...
It's not trusting the test. What I'm saying is don't run your tank by testing. So in other words, my tank here, do you know the last time I tested my water? I can't even remember. Do you know why? Because of the things I'm doing to it, which is nothing. I'm not doing anything to it. The fish in this system, the corals in this system, there's no drain. There's no drain to it. So as long as I know that I'm not feeding lots and lots of food, and as long as I can see, I've grown algae in my tank. You know why? Because I'm using the algae as an indicator. If that algae increases, I know that my nutrients has gone up. If the algae decreases, then my nutrients have gone down. There's my test kit, is the algae. So what I'm saying is just try to get yourself into the thinking that the only effect on your system, okay, is what you do or what you don't do. So if you practice by running your system by your method and your input, how much food you're putting in, are you bubbling, are you using bacteria, are you doing multiple water changes all the time? If you get into the mindset that the only thing that affects that system is you then become in control. And this is why I've started talking about reefing by fear and reefing by design. Because if you know what your goal is and you follow those steps to attain that goal, the testing is only there for you to take a marker of what you believe it should be because of what you've done. I see a lot of what I call reactive testing. So this is the scenario.
Here's where I'm going to disagree with you a little bit there, Nick. And it's only because I think your point of view is coming from a point of view as experience. Like if I'm new, like what you just said to me, like a lot of it, like it's nice, it sounds nice, like you're using fancy words, but I don't know the signs to know when my tank is not looking good. I haven't developed that eye yet. So the only way I can get a handle, like a solid number, like these, I'm not saying it's right, Nick. By the way, I'm not saying this is right. I'm just saying, like, as a new, you're a new hobbyist, and if I'm new on Triton, we're all new to something. If I'm new on Triton, I haven't developed that eye yet to know that coral doesn't look good. Like the only way I could know is, oh, Triton recommends you keep your DKH between 7 and 8. So if that coral isn't looking good and I've done all my tests, calcium, magnesium, whatever, and alkalinity is off or something's off, then I can correct that and say, okay, I've corrected that. And it's still, then you kind of go through the process of eliminating. But if you're a new reefer, you haven't developed that eye yet to know whether something is going. You don't know a design. You just started a tank.
No, I understand what you're saying, and this is where this is where sometimes what I'm saying and what you're interpreting from what I'm saying, it sometimes gets slightly skewed, and that's where I apologize, because it may be the words I'm using and the way I'm saying it that leads you to think I'm talking about something that I'm not. So I apologize for that, because it may be that case. What I'm trying to say is you've got to take responsibility for the system, okay? It's your responsibility to learn the steps, like DC's here now saying, I want to learn about Triton. I can't find the information. I want to learn the ABCs, which is the right approach. But at the beginning of that learning and the need to understand, also understand that when you do ABC, it has an effect. So when you do the testing, the testing isn't like what's happened in my system. The testing is, I've done this. How has that affected my system? This is how it's affected my system because of what I've done. A lot of the time I see people do a nitrate test and they go, oh, my nitrates is at 50. Well, yeah. What did you expect it to be? Because it's what you did. You made it 50. The test didn't make it 50. The system didn't make it 50 by itself. Because it's like, why is my tank at 50 nitrate? Well, because of what you've done. So look at what you've done. I've set a lot of new reefers up on Triton. So I'm not saying that it's this big thing and it's very complicated. A Triton is actually very, very simple. What happens is people make it complicated, like they do in all aspects of this hobby. People make it confusing. They make it complicated. They come into Triton with this view of, well, Triton says it must be this. Triton says it must be that. And they take those golden guideline rules, like, 20% refugium turnover, 10 times turnover, but they don't understand why those rules in place and the mechanics of why we say to have 20% of your water volume as refugium, why we say to do 10 times turnover. So what I'm saying is, don't just look at the figures, understand what's behind those figures. And what happens is, if you do that from the start and you're not just learning what to do, but also understanding as you learn something. So Paul says to you, right, well, what you need to do, which he's just said there, he said, you need to be doing your dosing over 24 hours. But nobody said why. Nobody said, why is that, Paul? Why do we need to do it over 24 hours? Because what people will do is they just do it because Paul said so. What I'm saying is, don't just do things. Say to Paul, why do I need to do it over 24 hours, Paul? And then Paul will say to you, because if you don't, you get that precipitation out, right? Oh, okay, so what does that cause? And what you did before was that you were using your water testing and your alkalinity, even though you were dosing, was staying the same or going down. So it's like, oh, I need to dose more and more and more. So what happened in that situation was you were using the water test as your target, and then because it was dropping or it was the same and you wanted to increase it, then the reaction is to put more and more and more in. And it was like, well, I'm putting so much in now, why is it still not going up? It's impossible, because look at the mechanics of it behind that. Well, I tell you what I'd like to do with DC, right? And this is something which I'd recommend. If you're going to do this group and you want to help somebody to come on to Triton or to fix an issue if they're on Triton already and they're not too sure if they're doing it right or something like that, what I'd recommend is do a mentorship. So what
Teach
you
me, Master Splinter. Teach me, Master Splinter.
Well, this is the reason for this. This is why I think this is a good idea. What I can do with DC, if you want me to do it, if you're happy, I'll personally mentor you 1-to-1 on Triton, right? Because what that'll do is if you use one person to mentor you, it stops where people have conflicting understanding against Triton. Because I can discuss Triton with one person, and they'll see Triton exactly the same way I do. I'll discuss Triton with another person, and all of a sudden there's a whole load of confusing views on it. And I say, why did you think that? Oh, because I read this on this forum, or because somebody told me this. And I say to them, but do you understand why? And they goes, well, no, they just said this, that I should do it, otherwise this happens.
You know, Nick, just one thing, sorry to cut you off, but
no problem.
You know, that's something I've mentioned to. I think the documentation for Triton, I personally think it's not that great, to be honest. I really do think, and that's something I think when the last time I saw the distributor of Triton at his store, and I even mentioned it on the Triton forums on Reef to Reef. I told them their documentation is not very complete. Like, you can probably find more documentation like BRS 2-part, which is just a calcium alkalinity solution, rather than the Triton documentation. I mean, I think they've gotten better. They've made some nice brochures that I've seen in Manhattan aquariums. But like you say, the 10 times tank turnover, there's not a lot of documentation on why, you know, why. I've even told you, like, I think I've even had a discussion with you where if elements are off, how they recommend you adjust it. And when I told you it, you said, wait, that's not right, which it didn't sound right to me. That's why I kind of, told you. But I think Triton themselves, and I said this on my live stream Thursday, I just think sometimes there's a marketing or whoever is front facing, or maybe it's not organized, because you'll find something in the documentation and then something on the help forum, and they're both different.
Yeah.
And the thing printed on the bottle is different. Like, you can't have someone going to Reef, someone picking up the brochure in the store, and then on the bottle it says 3 different things. If your alkalinity is too high, how to, like, you can't have that. I think a PR problem is one. Forget about the fact that the stuff isn't in stock. That's different. But I think sometimes the message is a little bit convoluted coming from Triton itself. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I agree.
I
agree with that. I think that's a good point, because if Triton is giving you the information, they steering you. Of course, they want some type of like a business, and they're a business. So yeah, they definitely gonna be biased. Like you said, there's certain things in your ICP test that said, buy a bottle of this, buy a bottle of that. But you figured, let me do a water change. It's cheaper, it's easier, and I can get the same results. So that's why I like to have real time use. Not just people that's work for Triton, because you guys don't have no really ties to Triton. I don't know on here who's getting paid by Triton.
I'm not.
But I don't think nobody is. So it'd be an honest review, an honest opinion, an honest, honest everything. So it won't conflict the person that want to use it, or
This is the thing, DC, because even though I'm a Triton supplier, because I do systems for people, it doesn't mean to say that every system and every person I work with uses Triton. That's not true. We set up calcium reactors. We sometimes manage systems just by water changing, because that's all it needs. So the way I work, it's a very person, system specific methodology. So it's what method and what equipment and things that we use is governed by the stock and the animals they're keeping, and their lifestyle, their ability to run a certain method in terms of how busy they are, the size of their tank and so on. So for me, there's definitely no bias about, you must use Triton because it's the best thing in the world. Because for you, you might be wanting to run Triton. I say, you know what? If it was me, I wouldn't run Triton on your system. So the only because I've heard it before where people say certain people are biased because they're getting paid. I'll be honest with you, there's nobody that I know of that comes into our live streams that talks about, Neptune or Triton or Bacterius that's getting paid by those companies. To actually get those people, and O knows this, to actually get those people to come onto the live streams and to the YouTube videos to talk about their products is actually very difficult because they're always so busy. And I think YouTube and the live streams is still seen as, you know, something that they have to give up time to do. You know, they're already doing shows, they're already doing their businesses and things. And it's the opposite, you know. They still don't view as YouTube as a, I think they're starting to, you know, which is really good to see. They're starting to see YouTube as a format which they can reach a lot of people.
I don't have a problem with a distributor. Like, listen, people have to make money. I have no problem with a manufacturer pushing his products. Like, that's not. I don't think I have a problem with that. I think sometimes people go overboard.
Yeah.
I think sometimes they go overboard. And I love Triton. Maybe I don't say that enough. The thing I'm pissed off is two things. I can't get the product when I need it, and the fact that I think the front-facing people are a little bit behind what I would call good customer service. Like, you have a problem with Tunzi, you call up the guy Roger at Tunzi. He's a front-facing. He'll apologize and he'll say, "Oh man, Oral, I'm sorry, man. You don't even like." I think I trust Tunzi well enough that if I buy a skimmer from BRS, and this has happened before, I bought a pump and it was missing parts. You know, sometimes you buy something new, you wanna get that new item feeling, smell where you put it in. Like, I trust Tunzi enough where I'll call Tunzi support directly and say, "Hey man, I bought a pump and it's missing some magnets or something." Like, I trust Tunzi that much. You know, that's how much their customer service means to me, where I'll call them up directly. So, you know, yeah, this live stream was, you know, we're supposed to talk about the method, not necessarily the fact that it's a big thing, though. That the fact
these are the issues as well, though, right? You know, you've got to talk about the issues because, like you were saying, there's a responsibility there, because if you publish loads of videos on how to use it, and people watch that, which you want them to watch it, and you want to say, look, this is the what I've done, and I found this to be a benefit, and I found this to be a negative, you know, and it might encourage people to go out and try and buy it, and then they find that they can't. So raising the issues surrounding the method to me is an honest approach, because you're talking about the good, and you're also talking about the bad. And I think there is issues with, I think where those issues came about is like I said, I'm lucky. I was here when Triton first hit the UK, and my friend is the distributor. He works closely with Eshan at Triton. I've spoken to Eshan myself, and originally, you know what the product was for? Originally, it wasn't to be sold on shop shelves. You know, which sounds stupid, right? But originally, it was for advanced reef keepers, and I'm not trying to be, you know, like elitist with that. What it was for people who really understood their systems, had very high-tech tanks in terms of very high-quality SPS, were growing their systems out. And it was an alternative method for those people than what we had in those days, which was a laboratory of equipment and dosing regimes and secret recipes or secret sauce that people were doing. These were 20, you know, 10, 15 plus experienced reefers. That's what the product was designed for. Now, when I was talking to my friend about it, I said to him, there's two things with this product. One is, for me personally, I can see the benefit to new users for this, because it's going to help them balance the systems in a way that they can do something and at the same time learn about what they're doing and learn to understand it without learning by killing coral. You know, killing fish and killing coral. And but the other side of it is people are going to hate it. The people who are going to hate it are the people that have been reefing for 20 years to 30 years like me, you know, that like to have it, that, you know, if you want to have a tank like mine, you're going to have to be reefing for 20 odd years to get the experience I've got, which isn't true. It's not true. You know, if you take somebody who's brand new to reefing and you guide them step by step, they can be as good as you can in 6 months, 8 months, because it took me 30 odd years to learn the things that I've learned. But to hold someone's hand and to educate that person and guide them, it won't take 30 years to do that. But there's an elitism within this hobby. You know, there's an elitism where people stand on pedestals with their amazing tanks and say, yeah, one day you'll be as good as me. Yeah. I've taken new hobbyists to that level in 6 to 8 months, where they've got absolutely stunning tanks crammed full of SPS, where they're fragging down and starting to sell their car within 2 years. You know, and that's what I want for everybody, because if everybody can do that, then there's no disappointment. Because the worst thing is when you're starting, that you kill a coral and you kill another coral and you kill your fish and you kill another fish, and then people don't want to do it anymore. You know, and that, to me, that's a shame, because I want more people to be in this hobby and more people to get the pleasure of being in this hobby.
One thing that there must be something wrong.
Wait, Paul, we didn't hear that. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said that's one thing where people just buy corals and buy fish and just let them die. Oh, it'll be all right soon. I'm thinking, no. When was the last time I bought a coral or a fish? It's not because I can't, because I can. It's because I know that I want things just to grow up and, you know, settle down a bit. Let things grow. Let things settle down. That's how I do it, and that's how it should be done. What it is, people just get giddy. They go to an LFS, see something nice, they want to buy it all the time.
Yeah, but we're talking about hobbyists that are building up the systems, Paul. When I met you, you already had a full tank. Do you know what I mean?
No.
I'm on about when your tank's half empty and you're wanting to add to it.
No, I am. But I'm saying, when you add something, you need to give it time to settle down before you start adding more stuff. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
People can add and add and add and add. They never let the tank settle down in 12 months. Don't work like that. Put something in, wait a couple of months, let it settle down a little bit, add something else, let it settle down a little bit. And I've found out that doing it that way, things do survive. Nothing dies.
But that's why I was saying about water testing doesn't run your tank. You do. And what people forget is that when you add and add and add, you're adding to the strain of the system. You've got to let your system rebalance. And that's got nothing to do with test results. Your test results is just an indication of you putting your system under strain. And that's why I'm saying, if people learn about everything in the system is down to them and what they do or don't do, then the testing is only a reflection of that. It's not where, oh, this has happened, now I need to do a load of stuff. Well, that's because you did this in the first place.
That's what people do automatically. They automatically blame, oh, something's gone wrong. No. You've done something that's caused that. More.
Exactly. That's it. I'll tell you, another point I wanted to make as well is that when you're talking about the customer service side and the frontline people, this is where I understand your frustration. And the thing as well is that those areas where, you're saying, which has been raised about there not being enough information and there's no people there, there's no guidance there. When I started to sell Neptune in the UK, one of my customers was like a computer programmer, and he was running full Proflux, and he moved over to Neptune. And what he did, he just started a forum, about using Neptune. What happened was Neptune saw what he was doing because people were referring to it all the time. That group of people wrote the manual for Neptune. They wrote the manual on like Neptune itself. So when you look at the Neptune manual, that was written by users because they started to do it. And Tim Caldwell, that is like Eshan's right-hand man that goes to all the shows, will be at Machina. Tim was a Triton user. He was a hobbyist. And he used Triton. He was in a group of people using Triton. And it just came about that Eshan realized he couldn't manage to answer everyone's questions and be doing the product as well. So he turned to Tim and said, hey, Tim, do you want to join Triton? Because I've worked with you one-to-one on all the information as you've been asking me. How about you join us as Triton? And he then became the face of Triton. So
Tim at Triton, that's who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the guy that's in the forums.
So what I'm saying is where you can see areas of weakness and areas of voids of information and things. Then I see opportunities. I'm sure if you guys carried on doing this, Triton talk every week or once every other week, whenever you can, we can get Eshan and Tim and the other Triton guys to see that this is a useful format. And they'll probably work with you one-to-one to give you information. We can get them on here to talk about it directly, and you can become that source of help and information that's missing. You can actually become that, you know? So
I just told O that it's his responsibility.
Listen, man.
He got me on Triton. He got me on Triton, so
I
can't leave me hanging.
I got 3 responsibilities, man. I got a wife and 2 kids.
I'm not saying you do it by yourself, though. I'm just saying if you created a group, that group of people could become that. So it wouldn't fall on your shoulders. But if your live stream became a source of really good information, then, you know, we can get support in that. You know, you can get support in that because it's useful for them. So it doesn't have to be that you're on the outside. You can actually, you know, become a unity in helping to provide what we see as being missing from you know what people need.
You're the new face of Triton.
Oh no. Hey, let me just answer something that Mages says. So Mages says what she's done is she's seen people jump on a bandwagon based off what people said and then jump off based off what people said. And listen, I can understand that some people do that, Mage. And what I was saying, so the reason I went on Triton, to be honest, like I said this beginning, maybe you didn't hear, is because I like the idea of doing less water changes because if in my life, man, like I got a water change is hard because I keep my stuff on the fire escape, got to pull it in. Like it's very involved. So I went on it because the whole thing, and maybe it was wrong to like, because I was pitched the whole no water changes thing. But with Triton, I've reduced my water changes by a lot that I'm happy with. So that's the reason why I did Triton, you know. And I also said, Mage, that's one of the reasons I also, because of the issues with distribution in the US, I shot a transition into Triton video like since October. And that's one of the reasons I haven't pushed it out yet because of the distribution. I wouldn't want someone to watch that video and say, oh man, I love what you're doing, Triton. I love and somebody say, I'm gonna try Triton. And
that's
then 2 months later, I'm off Triton. Triton.
That's what I did. I followed your lead. And you led me astray.
Listen, man, I'm still on Triton. I'm still on Triton.
Kidding, man. You know,
but I've bought ESV. Like this Nano here, this is going on ESV. Like I'm not putting this Nano on Triton because I don't want to put out a video that says, "Hey, I'm transitioning to Triton," even though it's old, and then 2 or 3 months later, I've changed. You know, I've changed Triton. So I'm not going to bash Triton anymore about the distribution issues. Like I've said enough about that, but you know. And another thing that you boy is saying, that you boy says, and G and Yui boy, and I really gonna blame myself with this too because I think I contributed. I'm gonna say I had a part in this. The first time I was touting Triton and I was saying I'm moving to Triton, I did say it's a no water change system. And I kept promoting the fact that, I haven't done a water change for like 6 months on my Nano. Like I went back and read some of my forum chats. I read some of the comments I left on people's videos. I read some of the stuff I emailed people. And yes, I was part of the problem, touting the whole no water change thing. And yeah, there are times in Triton when you need to do water changes, man. You just need to, for whatever reason, you need to. So I was part of that problem. So
I'd say that's slightly a different way, because again, it's that, this method is a one cure-all method. If I run Triton, it's going to run my system. It's not true. Triton is a tool in the toolbox like anything else that you do in that system. And it's not that the thing is with Triton, you are doing a water change using Triton anyway, but it's a different way of doing a water change. You're doing a drip, drip, drip water change. When your skimmer cup fills up and you empty that skimmer cup out, you're throwing away salt water. And the way that Triton works is that the dosing that you're doing is roughly around the equivalent of what you're taking out. Because if you didn't run a skimmer and you were dosing Triton, the Triton's got the salts in it for your salinity. Your salinity would go up and up and up and up and up. So it is already a water change method. It is already, incorporating water changes as a method, but in a different way, as a drip, drip, drip. And then at some points in your system will require like a reset, a basing out. and that's where your water change comes in as a part of using Triton. So Triton really should never have been advocated as a no water change method. That it was one of the benefits of using Triton was that it would cut down your large traditional 10% of wheat water changes. Yes, it would do away with that, but that's not the reason for Triton. It's not the selling point of Triton.
Yeah, I made that mistake. I got to be honest. But Mage is in here, and I know Mage got a lot to say. So come on, let's hear it, Mage.
Just hear it.
Hey,
Mage. Hey, the thing I like about Mage is there's no filter, man. She tells you exactly what she's thinking, and I always respect
which is
that.
good. Yeah, so that's a good thing.
We're gonna get Mage on Triton.
Well, I've been listening, and you know, I'm not no pro, so I'm coming in with just a regular basic how I feel about things. So before I even picked the dosing thing, I listened to you guys on the streams. I read Triton's website. I read Aquaflora's website. And the one thing that I came back with is they're basically the same thing, right? They both, on both those systems, you can set it up to where you don't have to do a water change, but that's on you. Nowhere on their websites have I seen where it says 100% no water change. Okay.
Exactly.
What I read on Triton was the possibility of limiting your water changes. Like on my systems, I used to do a water change once a week, every weekend, right? So when I read, and it's all about how you perceived after you read it, right? It's all about perception. So the way somebody else might perceive what they read might be different. They're like, oh my God, no water change is great. But that's not how they wrote it. That's how you just perceived it. You know, your translation in that. My translation in reading Triton was, okay, if you get on our system, we can limit your chances of doing a water change more like what you're doing now. So maybe we'll limit it down to once a month instead of once every week. That's how I read it. You know, I didn't go Triton for this. Now, I don't know how many people knew about that before they bought Triton, but it had been talked about on the streams for a very long time before a lot of people went out and bought it. And it was public knowledge in the forums. You know, so if they read the forums, they would have known as well that one, Triton was having an issue with stocking. Number two, they were also having an issue with leaking. Those two issues alone steered me away from Triton, not because Triton was a good product, not because I was thinking in the back of my mind, well, I don't know if their ICP test is accurate, because they're not the only ones that do ICP testing. There's a lot of other companies that do it as well. So that means you're going to have to take into consideration all of them could be wrong as well. So are you going to take that time to think like that? Like how can you prove that their stuff is wrong when you yourself are not lab tech and you're doing home testing and human error can come into play, you know? So none of that faltered, you know, my thinking on that. It was all because of how am I supposed to get this? My tank is set up like this. How am I supposed to get this? Number two, the bottles are leaking. Now, if I went and bought Triton already knowing that knowledge beforehand, then shame on me. I can only blame myself, because you already know they're having an issue, but you're going to buy that stuff anyway instead of waiting until the issue is fixed. So I feel like if I bought that and then I come on the stream or in the forum bashing them, you know, about what's going on when I already knew, that to me doesn't seem right. Now, if I bought it and they didn't have any problems beforehand, all of a sudden they started having problems, that's a different story. Then, okay, I'd be like, oh, well, you know, y'all didn't have this problem before. I bought it. Now, all of a sudden, y'all have this problem. My system is already set up on it, things like that. You know, I do understand where O is coming from, because he's upset because he bought all this stuff and now it's hard to get it. It's leaking. Because, you know, he's kind of like me. When I bought the VR, you know, I put it on my face. It was hurting my face. So pretty much after that bad experience, I hate VR. You know, I just hate it, right? I bought
a Triton specific sump that cost, you know, like I got a discount, but you know, it's like $400 retail. So I was all in. I'm all in, Mage.
Exactly. Yeah. So I understand why you'd be so upset. But my question to you is, did you know about the issues before you bought the Triton or after?
After. After, because I started Triton. See, you know what? After, and this is honestly like after, because like I said, I have the advantage, and I have an advantage because my LFS is connected to the distributors of Triton. So maybe Triton had issues before, but I always got my Triton from my local LFS. So I would tell the guy that, hey, I need Triton, and he would say, hey, I have a bottle here for you. So it wasn't until I was on Triton and then try to get the stuff online that I realized that there was an issue, because I would always do it local. And then I started Triton before BRS released that video. Because the thing is, I bought the solutions. See, I got the solutions at Reeferpalooza, New York last year, because I was on the fence. And when I had a conversation, I had like a 20-minute conversation with Ryan from DRS. And he told me, he said, hey, our tanks are already on Triton. We just haven't released a video yet. That's when I said, all right, I'm doing Triton. And I bought the bottles there. So I was on Triton before BRS released the video, and I think it was after BRS released the video and everyone got on Triton that then the shortage happened. And and then the leakage issue happened when they switched to these cartons. My first few sets of Triton I bought, I had bottles. They all came in bottles.
Yeah, see, I know. I had been known they were switching to the cartons when they was at Magna, New Orleans, because they had them there. And from when I talked to them, and I guess they just changed their method of doing it, is that those cartons were supposed to be only to refill the plastic jugs that people already had, right? But they were going to still sell them side by side. So if you already had the plastic jugs, you would save money by buying the ones in the carton. But I guess they changed how they were going to do that. But their fault, I guess, on that. But now they got to fix that. But yeah, that's just that's just how I felt about it, because it just seems like everybody's opinion just changed with the wind. Like just a few months ago, Triton was God, and now all of a sudden, because some guy named Kent or whatever did a speech, who products they probably don't even use, now they're against Triton. So I feel like people should stop listening. Like, it's good to view these people and hear what they have to say, but to go 100% based off of what they say on another product, because that man promotes the product too. That's just like Sony that's just like Samsung and Apple. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Samsung is going to promote their product and bash Apple. Apple's going to promote their product and bash Samsung. Doesn't mean that Samsung's bad or Apple is bad. It's just they're promoting their stuff, period. And people got to see a bigger picture and go do research before they just believe something coming out somebody's mouth and then put everything in perspective. Triton, from what I've read, has been around. A lot of these products, Aquaforce, Triton, these, particular things have been around for a very long time. Across the sea. Here in America, it's new. It's not new to everyone. It's just new to us. So for people to, make comments, it's brand new. How do you know that it actually works? Blah, blah, blah. Well, if you go do your research and read about it, you'll see it's not brand new. It's just brand new to you.
Yeah, the funniest thing, I hear what you're saying, Maze. I agree with you about the talk. The funniest thing about that talk, when I think that guy lost my credibility, is when he said, you don't know how... You don't know when like a lab opens it and the person's skin and stuff. Listen, I'm okay with you bashing a method, not liking a method. That's cool. There's methods I don't like for whatever reason. Maybe there's
what did he say? What did he say?
Said something to the like when they open those containers, like if somebody's skin cells and stuff get in the solution, that taints the solution, which I think is ridiculous, because I think if you're in a lab and somebody. If you have a lab, like there is a chance that the person's using gloves and it's a lab environment, and he says the machines aren't clean. Like you can listen.
This is the thing. How does he know all that? In that case, then you need to bash every lab that's doing human tests as well, piss tests, blood tests. I mean, we don't know.
Who said that?
No, Jack Kent. See, what I hate is
Jack Kent said that about Triton, or about. Right. Okay.
What I hate is, sometimes what I do hate is sometimes when we don't have, we all don't like things for different reasons. Like I wouldn't use a calcium reactor because I don't have the space for it. I don't like Coral View because I've had bad experiences with them. Like I could tell you reasons why I don't say. It didn't say names, but we know he was implying. Yeah, but for me to like just. This is a listen, we all say things privately we wouldn't want to say publicly, but when you're saying something, I can't just say I don't like DC Reefer and just give some BS method. Like if you're
wow.
no, I'm just saying
Secrets are coming out.
No,
you hear that, DC?
I'll tell you what, Seymour, you're going to cause trouble here. Woody's going to have you. Major's going to have you.
Wow.
You can't just say like, yo, I don't like DC Reefer and just throw out some like DC Reefer's an engineer or what he does. You can't say I don't like DC Reefer because he doesn't know what he's doing and not give any backup evidence. Like especially when you're someone who's in the industry, I think that was a little bit reckless. I really do think that was a little bit reckless for you to throw out accusations like they don't clean the machines. A lot of times they don't even clean the machines regularly. Like if this is a certified lab, because certified labs are certified to do, that means, all the work.
I'll tell you what, let me just give you a background story, because one of the reasons why I do like Triton, okay, because I do like it. That's why I recommend it as a product in a given situation. If somebody's system and lifestyle, etc., to me, it says these guys should be using Triton, I'm going to recommend it as a method because that's my responsibility to make sure people I come into contact with are getting the best advice given their situation, right? So if it's a situation where I'm going to recommend Triton, one of the reasons why I like Triton is that the lab equipment that Eshan has and Triton uses isn't just for the ICP tests. It's not there just to conduct the ICP tests and give people results. What also they do is the ingredients that go into the solutions, they also test. So for example, take magnesium, okay? You get different grades of magnesium. And you can say, well, magnesium's magnesium. Yes, it is. But what purity and what quality? So in terms of contaminants, yeah, a cheaper magnesium can be less pure and have a higher amount of contaminants in it, but it'd still be bottled up and labeled magnesium, right? So what Eshan did was that he orders in particular grades of purity of the ingredients that go into the solutions. And then what he does is he tests it to make sure that the suppliers have given him what he's ordered, because the higher grade materials are more expensive because of the processes they have to use to eliminate the contaminants in it. And on one occasion, he tested the ingredients that he was sent of a particular compound. And it wasn't the grade he'd ordered. So he contacted the company and complained and said, hey, I ordered this particular grade that cost me this much more money than the grade that you sent me. And the company said, no. We sent you the grade that you required. And he said, no, I've got ICP testing equipment. The background story in Eshan is he's a chemist from a family of chemists. So even the ICP testing equipment wasn't bought for him to create Triton. They already had this for the business they operated and realized that they could use it for refin. So what they did was they sent out a technician, one of their lab technicians, with several different samples. And the technician stood side by side with Eshan when he did the testing procedure to oversee it, make sure he was doing it correctly. When they finished doing that procedure, the lab technician turned around to Eshan and said, you know what? Your testing procedures and testing capabilities are actually better than ours. And that's why you've got a substandard quality product to what you ordered. Because when we tested it, we couldn't test it to this level. And then the company actually approached Eshan and said, would you mind calibrating testing for us? So one of the reasons that I like Triton is the care that Eshan has put into the actual product itself in terms of the ingredients, its formula, and everything else. It's like my friend's tank in London. You know, sometimes I'll say, hey, can I bring a couple of clients down to meet you because they want to run Triton? It's a big system they're looking at, and I'd like them to talk to you one-on-one and get the, you know, grassroots information, and to show them your system that's been running Triton for years, to show them the potential of what they could have. And sometimes he'll turn around to me and say, Nick, to be honest, I'd rather you not bring them down because at the moment my tank isn't looking too good. The reason for that is because we're subjecting it to certain things to cause it to be not very good, to then test it if we do this and this and this to see if it improves. So even now, they're not just sat down selling product. Even now, they're still testing. They're still you know, doing things to like the systems to see the effects. Certain things they talk about, like at one point they were saying, if you've got Miracle Mud in your system, take it out if you're going to go onto Triton. Yeah. The reason they said that was because they never conducted tests to see what happens when you run Miracle Mud with Triton. So they were concerned about, you know, the elements and things coming off the mud, and their prescribed method of using Triton may clash and you might be double dosing. Yeah. So they thought, well, it's easier if we just tell people that we recommend to remove the mud when you're running Triton, because then it's under control. It's under the conditions we know it to be with our prescribed method. And that was the only reason for it. So that's why I was saying sometimes you've got to look like behind the scenes of things as well to understand. Because I've heard a lot of people like what you're saying about Mr. Kent and saying, oh, yeah, you know, well, what happens if this and what happens is that? When in reality, it is a proper lab grade. You know, it's not just some hobbyist that's bought a piece of equipment and is using it. You know, it is a proper pharmaceutical laboratory. Like, you know, Major was saying, it's not, you know, some hobbyist with a fancy piece of kit.
Okay, I don't know enough to attack a lab and lab testing. I really don't. But if you're going to attack a lab testing, I just think you have to come with more evidence that, you know, a lot of times they don't clean the machines well, or suppose it gets contaminated with human skin. I just think that if you're...
The only way he would know that is if he went there and he saw that for himself.
Yeah. Yeah, I
and
find
if you didn't
that
see it for yourself, how can you speak on something like that? And that's where, like, I wonder how many people in the chat right now listened to that speech and was persuaded by that speech without even thinking about what the man is actually saying. Or better yet, how many people were persuaded who has Triton now that got Triton just because somebody said, well, you're not going to have to do any water changes, without actually going to read the information that Triton put out.
You know what? To be honest, you know, everything that Triton is, you know, his companies sell it. Like, he's in the same business. I just took the way he attacked it. I didn't find that he attacked Triton like a bad thing or didn't like the product. Like, he sells a competing product. He's okay. He has to push his product. Like, I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. It's just that somebody, yeah, I think, yeah, you know. One other thing that I'm going to add, though, that as Nick was talking about purity, it's interesting that the other day I saw BRS. You know, they're two-part package. And by the way, I love BRS products. Like, I've used them for years, and I still keep a little bit on hand. You know, I still have a little bit left, and I'm not throwing it out. I'll keep it. But you know, BRS is also up the grade of their stuff they sell now. They now do like they call it pharmaceutical.
Pharmaceutical, yeah, I saw. I like the little baggies.
Yeah, I called them up and asked them. I say, hey, you know, like, is your guys just said, no, it's a higher grade. And I said, hey, will I have to adjust my dosing? Because if I was dosing 40 mils a day before, will I, because it's more pure and hopefully I'm getting more magnesium and less impurities, he said you shouldn't have to. But his answers were still kind of, you know, you shouldn't. It was kind of, it wasn't like a solid, like, no, you don't have to, because if you're dosing 40 mils before, if you mix this the same way, it'll be 40 mils. Like, his answer was, do you know why
that is, though? Do you know why that is?
Well, to be honest, before I answer, I'd say no, I don't know. But whenever you talk to reef dudes and what's his name? And what's the guy we talked to in Australia? What's his name? Rookie Reefer. They've always said the 2-part we get here in the US is crap. Like if you talk like Reef Dude's, I'm sorry, I don't want to put Reef Dude words in Reef Dude's mouth, but I do know that the stuff they get overseas, when they get stuff overseas, it is a lot purer than the stuff like Rookie Reefer also always says, like he always bashes like the stuff we get here. He always says his stuff is purer and cheaper than what we pay. So I'm not surprised that
That's
They
true.
get-
When you see the movie American Gangster, Frank Lucas had to go over there get the pure
Oh
stuff,
man.
and they chopped it up. They chopped it up down here.
Oh man. All right, man.
More pure overseas.
Oh man. Yeah,
That's
man.
right.
Hey, what were you
Yeah.
saying, Nick? What were you saying why that is? Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't want
If
to get
you,
into
I mean,
that.
again, you know, you got to
Imagine.
remember, I'm a hobbyist. You know, I'm a hobbyist that's just been doing it a long time. So I'm not on any kind of, to some extent, I have spoken to people and people have educated me. So I have some advanced understanding, if you like, but I'm not a marine biologist. Okay. But so I think Cruz or somebody like that with a higher level of understanding than me could probably explain the actual biology of it, if you like. But from my understanding is that even though you can get something that's purer, what that means, you'd think in a way, well, if there's more of it because it's purer and less contaminants, then I wouldn't need to dose as much. But in certain states, that if it's a higher purity, what that means is that the corals can utilize it more easily. So the reason that you might not necessarily need to add more is because the corals find it easier to uptake, which means that you may get better growth and utilization of it because it's purer. So rather than you having to dose less, if the corals can utilize it much more easily,
You might have to dose
actually
more.
have to add more. Yeah, exactly, right? So think about it, and that kind of makes sense. Yeah, if it's in a better form that the corals can utilize it more easily, so they use it up quicker, process it quicker, then it could be the opposite. Because it's purer, you might need to dose more of it.
All right,
Cruz would be able to
what?
give you the understanding behind that more biologically in terms of cell utilization and stuff. I can't do that.
Well, that's the
Cruz
same
probably
thing
could
with
give you that information.
different phyto, because there are certain phytos that the corals can't break down because of the shell that covers that plankton. When I was talking to the people who sell the phyto in the little packets, what's their name?
Is it? I know the online people, right?
Yeah, the ones who do the mastic and all that. He was explaining to me that there are different types of phytoplankton, and not all corals can intake the phyto because of the hard cellular structure of the phyto. So it's the same thing.
Did we lose Mage? Oh.
No, I'm here.
All right. I think one thing we haven't touched on in regards to Triton is really like filtration and particular. Well, two things I want to touch on. I want to talk about the refugium, and then I want to talk about tank turnover.
I think your refugium is perfect. You can use, even if you didn't use Triton, you can still use that refugium, because Dave has set his refugium up like a Triton refugium, and he doesn't use Triton. He uses Fritz.
Yeah, I was using a Chaeto reactor with Triton, and it was keeping nutrients low. But I like a refugium because I think you get more pod population, which I have mandarins, so I need pod population, and I just think it's easier to maintain. Like you know, the one thing I'm really conscious of right now is I want easy. Because yes, you start out with these things and say, oh, a Chaeto reactor, all it takes is 5 minutes to empty it. Yes. But if you can build your tank in a way that is easy to maintain, because we can say like, hey, a skimmer takes 5 minutes to clean, a Chaeto reactor takes 5 minutes to clean, this reactor takes 5 minutes to clean. But by the time all these little complex things, you add up those 5 minutes, is end up is like a half an hour on a Saturday morning. You gotta.
It takes no time to do a refugium. You just pick the grass up and cut it with some scissors and throw it away.
Hey guys, I gotta take a. Sorry to interrupt. I gotta take a call, but I'll come back in a few minutes.
Yeah, no problem. And that's what I like now, Mage, is the refugium. Like this is a Saturday morning. I'm gonna empty my skimmer cup probably tonight. And what I'll do is when I'm emptying my skimmer cup, I just pick out a handful of Cheeto and just throw it away. Like that's my maintenance. Or 2 handfuls, like a Cheeto reactor. You know, you have to disconnect it from the pump, turn off the pump, take it over to the sink. You know, empty it, clean the O-ring so it doesn't leak. Like it's a lot more work.
Yeah, I don't got time for that. I already don't like cleaning a skimmer, so I wouldn't dare get something else I had to do that with.
Yeah, and then the refugium light. I'm using a Kessel, but these little UFO grow lights, man, they work just as well. I tested the spectrum of one of these grow lights next to a Kessel, and Reef Dudes is asking a question now about Kessel, but the UFO grow light, this Kessel costs $260 more than a UFO grow light. Do you get $260 more performance? I don't think so.
Hey, as long as the light grows grass, I don't care what type of light it is. I got 3 different type of lights because I was told to get these different lights because my Cheeto wasn't growing, or it was like melting away, but it wasn't because of the light. It's because I didn't have enough iron in my tank. But you know, that's another subject. But all the 3 lights I got, they all grow Cheeto, and I didn't spend no more than $30 on each one.
Yep, they all work. They all work. And sometimes when your Cheeto dies, it's not only because of like a nutrients thing or iron thing. Sometimes, you know, when I first got Cheeto, it wasn't because my Cheeto died, and it's because you can't take Cheeto that's been grown under like let's say like a regular Home Depot bulb that it's only getting 50, 60 par, and then put it under like a Kessel that's getting 1500 par. You're gonna, you know, that's a lot of light. Like you have to acclimate it to higher light. So I've killed a lot of Cheeto, you know, by just putting it. These are high-powered lights. So just like corals, you can't take corals from like something like 50, 60 par and then put it at the top in a meta halide system. You're going to kill it. You're going to bleach it. So you just have to be careful and acclimate it slowly to your light. Reef News is asking, how much light spillage do I get? I get a decent amount of light spillage, Reef Dudes, from my Kessel, but it's still a very focused beam. So, you know, I get a lot of light spillage, but it's still a more focused beam than, let's say, the UFO grow light. I think the UFO grow light has a better spread. I love my refugium, man. My tank is rocking right now. About a 10-gallon refugium.
I like the refugium. I like to look at the little things that be crawling around, and that's the only reason why I got a refugium for pods. I really didn't care too much about everything else. I just wanted my pods.
You know, one of my favorite things to do at night, Mage, is I sit down. There's like a chair right in front of the tank. I actually sit there and I open the sump and I look at it. Like at night when the tank lights go off, I sit there and I stare at my refugium. I'm an equipment junkie.
SB Reef sells these pod hotels. I bought 2 of them, and I put them in the sump, and they go in there. I guess they be sleeping. I don't know, but they're in there. And then I take the pod hotel out, and then I put it in the main display.
You a murderer. That's murder.
Huh?
Pod hotel.
Hey, I have 2 scooter dragonettes. I have some wrasses in there, and even my other fish be going around there looking at them.
You know what? I need to find. Hey, Mitch, can you message me that on Facebook? Like the Pod Hotel?
SB Reef? Okay, yeah. I'll send it to you. When I get
please.
home, I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
no problem. By tonight.
Yeah, I bought 2 of them for my 2 tanks, and I just put it in there, and then because I had a mandarin that died, I don't know why it died. It was fat, so I don't know why it died. But my scooter dragonettes I've had for a long time, and they're getting fat and everything, so I don't know why. I just bought that hotel just to make sure.
More than 1 mandarin?
No, just 1.
Okay, because I didn't know mandarins fight each other. So I put the spotted mandarin in with like one of them like Petco. It looked like a moth type of mandarin. I don't know.
They'll fight. My scooter blending mandarins used to fight.
Yeah,
my mandarins and scooter blending used to fight. What I had to do is I took the scooter blending out, and what I did is I went to the store. I had the guy sex 2 mandarins, and I got a male and female, and they paired up. They don't run up and spawn like what Haley's does, but mine still, they tend to stay on their own sides, but at least they don't fight.
See, I don't know. I think maybe it was scared or something. I don't know, because it looked fine at the LFS, and then I put it in a tank, and maybe day 3 it just like pretty much stayed in one place, and then I only had it for a week, and by the end of that week it was just like dead. I don't know what happened to it. And I'm like, well, so.
Hey, Reef Dudes is asking me a question if I get algae in the other chambers of my sump, and no, because my sump is black acrylic with red trim. So what happened? So my skimmer is black acrylic, so it doesn't get any light in it that grows algae in it, and the baffles and everything in my sump is basically black acrylic. So I actually don't. And that's one of the reasons I like it. It's black acrylic with like red trim, so there is very little light spillage. I don't get any algae issues in any other section of my tank.
I don't have no light spillage either, because I used Billy Pipe's refugium setup.
All right. Yeah, he said that's his one worry with getting the Kessel. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I chose the black and red acrylic. Hey, Cruz. That's one of the reasons I chose the black and red acrylic is the light spillage, and that's also another reason I chose like this Tunzi skimmer. Not only because it fit, but because it's black acrylic. And when I used the UFO grow light and I had like the Vertex skimmer, that thing grew algae. After like a couple months, it was black. The skimmer was black. You had to clean it very often.
Yeah, my UFO light in my bigger tank was growing algae in my Vertex skimmer. I just placed some acrylic over that part of the refugium, and I just sits the light directly on top of that, so it won't spill over to the skimmer side.
I like. Reef Dude says he got a groupie red dragonet for the nano. For the nano? Ooh, okay. Okay. All right. Hey, but the dragonets are the ones. Skin. Yeah, I think the dragonets, the ruby red, those are the ones that are easier to feed versus the mandarins, right?
I don't know. I mean, I've heard it both ways.
I heard all that. Dragonets?
Yeah, I've heard people say some of them they can't feed and some of them they can't. I know for a fact one of them they both look the same to me, so I don't know which one it is, but one of them in my tank I saw eat some mysis shrimp one day I was feeding it. Like he was straight up eating it.
Yeah, me
but
too.
my other one I haven't seen it.
Yeah, me too, Death Mage. I had put a video on Instagram. I had it in the Pico, and he ate the and it was a big, nice, fat piece of mysis shrimp too.
Yeah.
Like, how did he even get it down? But I didn't know that you couldn't put mandarins together. I guess I didn't want to know because I didn't do the research. But I figured, they both they look like peaceful fish. You know what I'm saying? So I had no idea they would kill each other.
Yeah. I mean, if you get them to eat frozen, that's good, man. That's good. When I got a Scooter Blenny, he ate mysis in the store. He had frozen food in the store. But the mandarins, they didn't. But I didn't worry about it. I know my tank has a healthy pod population, so.
Yeah, this is the thing, though, with that. Even if you get them to eat the frozen, the mandarins to eat the frozen, or Scooter Blennies to eat the frozen, in my tank, I just don't depend on that. I have to have the pods because I have aggressive eating fish, and those Scooter Blennies or mandarins are not that aggressive in eating. So
right, it got to fall down to them.
Exactly. If it falls down where he's at, he'll eat it. He's not gonna go searching for it. He's not gonna, like, when I feed a tank, he don't come up to be like, oh, it's eating time, and he don't do that.
Right. I agree. I got a lot of fish, but mysis don't even hit the sand bed by the time I feed, so.
Yeah, you got to turn off the pumps and squirt a little bit down, which to me is a lot of work, man. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm not doing none of that.
Yeah, I stopped lying. Listen, man, I've stopped lying to myself because, like I said, I stopped lying to myself now with the tank. Like, there's certain things I would not do because I'm like sun corals and stuff. I would love to have some color, but guess what? You think, like, I'd probably do it for the first couple of weeks, but I'm not going to keep that up. There's no way I'm going to keep up doing, like spot feeding a coral every day or every 2 days.
Yeah, That's too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Reef Dude said his problem is he forgets to turn the pumps back on in an ano. Yeah, I actually have the J-Bo ones where you can have like a long feed cycle. So I could do like you could do like a 30-minute feed thing and it turns back on automatically. So I like that. Hey, Cruz wants a link. Hang on a second. Reef
Now I
Dude
do
is saying
have
get
some fat head dandruffles in my tank. I have 2 heads of those. I feed them
Yep.
twice a week. I feed them twice a week. At nighttime they spread out and they get whatever is left in the tank or whatever they're doing. But I've had them for a while now. Now, if I fed them every day or whatever, they'd probably grow faster. But they doing good.
Yeah, I got fathead naturals too, and I don't feed them at all, and they still doing good, you know.
Yeah, they still doing
If they
good.
get food, yeah, they still doing good.
Hey,
So hey,
ain't nobody in the ocean feeding them.
I feed exactly. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna get the food that's floating in the water. So.
Hey, the hand of God goes down there with a turkey basin and gives them some roids.
Oh man.
We just can't see that happen. I'm telling you, we just
Right.
can't see it.
Oh, you guys are crazy.
That's Pilot Lab. They go down there. They send Jake Adams down there.
Oh yeah!
Feed the corals. I thought that was the dumbest thing.
I thought that was.
Wait, Jack Adams went down into the ocean, was feeding roids to the corals.
Oh my gosh! I thought that was
Jack Adams.
Immediately, I knew that was a sponsored video because there's no.
That's so dumb, man.
That's funny.
That's so you show like you said that's a sponsor all day. Like you going to the ocean really to feed reef roids. Like who does
that's
that?
hilarious though.
I see if he was. I see if he was in his own home aquarium and he was feeding it. But nobody goes in the ocean and feed reef roids.
Hey, did they fatten up after that?
I don't know. Did he go back down there? Check.
I don't know.
So stupid, man. I was like, what in the world?
That's just silly, isn't it?
But I bet that made because who he is. I bet that made people go buy reef roids. Like,
it just made me laugh. That's all. I mean, I've been had roids before I saw that video. I didn't even know he did that.
Yeah, he took it. He dove. I ain't say he was doing it for them, but I guess he was just doing it just because. But you could kind of tell he had some type of underlying agenda.
When I go to the beach, I'm gonna bring a bottle of roids too. When I go to the beach,
so you can feed.
I'm gonna broadcast that shit
over the ocean.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it out there. Get it.
Yeah. So stupid, man. I said the people, it will sell you anything in this hobby.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like that. I like the reef roids because I got reef roids a long time ago. Because I thought they was good stuff. But then I seen Billy Pice's video, and he put like a toothpaste of reef roids in here. I was like, wow. And I seen his corals up close and personal. It ain't just video. So, but that Jake Adams video, they made me want to buy reef roids. But I'm pretty sure it made 100, 200 other people buy it because it's Jake Adams. They're like, oh, he doing it, so let me do it.
Right.
They're trying to show that it's natural. You know what I'm saying?
It's natural to go in the ocean and with a turkey baster.
Turkey baster. Yep. Because otherwise, they don't eat, right?
They should get a submarine with a big turkey baster on it and put a lot of roids in it. Just float around. Just float around in the ocean with a big submarine with a big turkey baster on it and feed corals.
You know how much? Phosphates that is?
Hey, that's why I saw it phosphate.
How did they test it? Did they test the ocean water for phosphate?
God sent the water in to get an ICP test and said it was high phosphates.
That's my biggest pet peeve.
I'm watching the video again right now. That's funny as heck watching it a second time.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves of this hobby, guys. People saying, I want to do things the natural way. Well, this whole hobby is unnatural. Like, we have glass boxes and skimmers. None of the stuff that we do in the hobby is natural.
But you try.
I want to lower.
Give them as natural food as possible.
Yeah, I
Skimmer?
see that you try as natural as possible in the glass pots. You know what I'm saying? As natural as possible.
Right. I'm just talking about the people that bash methods like biopellets or this that, and say I want to run my tank as natural as possible. Like nothing on the tank is natural. Like nothing
The
applied to
LED,
this is
the
natural. It's
LEDs aren't
just funny to
natural.
me. Right.
The LEDs ain't natural.
The glass box you got it in is not natural. None of it's natural.
Yo, you're above sea level.
Right.
All
Right.
the tanks are above sea level.
But I want to keep my tank natural.
Yeah. Well,
No
I mean,
chemicals. I
I
want to
think
be
what they mean
natural.
biologically. You know what I'm saying, DC? I think they're trying to mean
Yeah.
biologically as best possible. You know, without having to run like multiple pumps to run reactors and crap like that, to run more, like
The
excess
best
steam.
food
I
out of
get
the
it, but
Yep.
Cruz, the best
But
food out of the minute is that Easy Reef products. They've eliminated everything is grown in natural lagoons, what they've created on their own land. It
really,
contains no phosphates, no pesticides or anything within it. It's the most
okay.
natural food you can get that they created.
So they're not utilizing Miracle Grow to grow their phyto.
I don't know about the phyto. I'm talking about the Easy SPS stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean the Easy Phyto that they have, right? The Easy Phyto,
Yeah. But the Easy
the one
Booster.
that drips. Yeah, the Easy Booster.
Yeah, that's what I'm
last
talking.
last time I went on their site and I was reading about it, they don't utilize like the Miracle fertilizers or chemical type of fertilizers. They utilize organic fertilizers.
Yeah.
Once again, I mean, I understand it, but gosh, how do you analyze, or how do you think about
Well,
what is an organic fertilizer? You know what I'm saying? It's very, very hard to quantify.
If it come out the
Especially
cow, then it's organic. I'm playing.
see, but I mean, but when scientists want to break it down, they go, oh well, you need to understand the chemical composition, what the cow ate, blah blah blah. And I'm like, seriously, you're going to over science things to death. You know what I'm saying, Mage? It's like, how many of us science every time we wake up in the morning? Like, why do I wake up in the morning? I don't know.
No, I
But
just
do.
thank God. Like, thank God.
Yeah, but then the scientists are going to say, well, prove that God's there.
Hey, I
You
know.
know what I'm saying?
They say it all the time. I look at them and be like, thank God for you too, brother.
But you know what I'm saying is, I think that sometimes we science things to death that we don't really need to. Like, when I brush my teeth in the morning, do I really care? Do I really need to know why I'm brushing my teeth? Like, what benefits I'm getting out of it? Do I measure my enamel thickness? Do you know
No,
what I'm
you
saying?
don't. You just get up and brush it.
Exactly. I mean, at what point in time do you believe somebody that, quote unquote, is supposed to be,
Certain things.
that
So
has
there's a
merit,
lot of things that we do because of habit too. It's just out of
Exactly.
habit. Like, you were raised
Like-
to brush your teeth, so now that's what you do. You brush your teeth.
Yep, and I was raised to freaking take a shower every day.
Exactly.
I'm
So you
saying?
take a shower.
But then there's those naturalistic people, right? Natural, right? That
Yes.
says taking a shower every day is bad for your skin. And I'm like, excuse me? Well, it's bad for my nose that you're doing that. I can smell you. I don't want to smell you.
I don't want to smell you.
Keep it natural, Cruz. Deodorant is not natural.
Yeah. You want to hang out? You want to hang out after a week of being natural? I'll hang out with you, buddy. I'll give you a hug too.
Raise your hand if you're sure.
No thanks.
Absolutely. But I mean, I think science is great. I live it every day. I work with it every day. But you know what? There's just some things that doesn't need explanation by science.
Exactly.
Like, why do my eyes water? Okay, well, I either got something in it, I'm yawning, or I'm crying, right? Typically, those three main things. But there's other things that make your eyes water. Like the air. If your eyes are like dried out, you're going to want to tear up, especially when there's a nice dry wind that's blowing in your face. you know, or you see somebody so, you know, so ugly that you just want to cry. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I mean, do you have to quantify how much or how much your tears weighed when you cried for that person because they're so ugly? You know, it's like, where does science need to stop, and you know, you go with common sense? You know what I'm saying? Where do you draw that line between common sense and why you need to freaking measure almost everything? You know, they wanted me to freaking yeah, they wanted me to validate my coral growth, you know, on that one stream by weighing it. You know what I'm saying? They wanted me to weigh my
What?
coral. They wanted me to weigh my coral dry. You know what happens when a freaking coral dries out all the way? It's dead. So how can I quantify its growth? You know what I'm saying, Mage? How can I measure
Well,
it beforehand?
you gotta kill it to prove
Somebody
growth.
breaking up. Or is
Exactly.
that me?
Exactly. How can I weigh it before I start the testing and kill it, and then try to freaking grow it and then weigh it after to see what the freaking difference is? I don't get that mentality. You hear me though, right?
Hello?
Hello.
I.
Is it me you're looking for?
Oh, am I breaking up?
No, you're good, mate. You're good. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, guys. I had to take a call.
Hey, cuz.
Our crews. Hey, cuz. I've just been speaking to Tim. So what he said is that if you've got damaged products, contact the retailer you bought it from, and they should replace it. And I said, is the product in stock to replace it with? And he said, yes. If they don't have any stock, then you know, tell them to contact the distributor, because there is stock available to replace your damaged product. Just do what you did for me. Just give them the photographs of the damaged product. That's all, and they'll replace it for you.
Yeah, you don't have
No.
to send
Okay,
it back.
so to be honest, Nick, I contacted what is it, Tim, on the Facebook page,
Right.
and he said he's gonna send me out a replacement.
Right, there you go. So he said there is stock available. I've invited him to the group, but he's busy right now with family and stuff. So, but what he did say was that because I said there's information from listening to you guys, there's certain information that's required that isn't being given out. And he said, yeah. What he said here, I'll read it out. We are working on a series of straight from the horse's mouth videos right now that will cut through the bullshit, basically, because I've said that from listening to you guys, there's some misinformation being given out and things like that. And he said, yeah, basically, we're actually working on that right now. What I've suggested to him that he might want to reach out to some of you guys with, you know, obviously things that you do, and you might actually be a benefit with that process, which I've seen people do before. So yeah, he's going to have a look at that as well.
Hey, if you want to send him my Facebook, I would love to have take some questions from people and have him on a show where he answers questions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he wants to do that. So if you want to forward him my info, I'd love
Is that
to do
the
that.
Triton guy?
Yeah, that's Tim Caldwell. I know Tim.
Oh,
So
just tell him
that's
to
Tim.
just change the back to plastic bottles. That's all.
Well, the thing is, as well, at Macna, they're
Yeah.
sponsoring Macna, right, in September. So I'm going to be at Macna. So yeah, I'm going to be at Macna, Las Vegas. So we can, you know, at Macna, Tim and Eshan and also my friend Vince, I think, will be there as well. So if, you know, I don't mind at all. Like, if we want to sit down and have, you know, 10, 15 minutes with Eshan and Tim and say, look, this is what we could offer you to help you with providing the information, get that information out via YouTube, via the live streams, and see if Eshan and Tim will say, well, look, obviously we can't talk to lots of people, but if you have one, like, spokesman, and they come in for information to us, we can give you the information directly, that then to make sure you've got accurate rather than hearsay information.
Yep.
So that might be something we can do at Macna, you know, when we've got time to sit down with them.
Yeah, see, they were going towards that whole no plastic, you know, the environmental view of, you know, bottling. And yeah, I understand why they went away from the plastic bottles, and it's a very, very, very favorable step forward. But yeah, knowing that, you know, certain things are failing may be the feedback that they need. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey, Reef Jeeves.
I mean, the thing is, you've got to appreciate as well that it might not be fantastic for the user base that they've done what they've done, but at the end of the day, the reason that Eshan gave me for doing it was because at some point, as humanity, we've got to compromise. Yeah, we've got to compromise because we are literally strangling the planet. And I know it's like sounds like I'm an eco warrior, but you know, you've seen the videos of all the plastics floating through the reefs. You know, at some point we've got to make a start to correct that. And yeah, it means that it's hard, and it means that people's bottles are leaking because they're not plastic, but it's for the greater good. You know, so should we, you know, say, hey, look, I've had 3 sets of Triton come in smashed up, broken, leaking, damaging, but I understand that the reason for it is because they're trying to do something good by not using the plastic. And
they should have given They just stopped it completely instead of giving the option first. Yeah, paying the extra to recycle plastic or whatever. They didn't even give you the option. They just stopped it, and people didn't even have containers to put the liquids in.
Yeah, but you can always go and buy. Yeah, but come on, Paul, be realistic. You can go and buy a dosing container right now at any local store.
No, I'm not saying that. But usually they give you an option. Like when things change, usually they wean them in. They didn't.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest with this one. I'll disagree, because if I really want to transfer a liquid from a carton into a plastic bottle, I can do that. I can go out and buy 3 Tupperware tubs. It's just that they're not marine hobby containers. Well, come on. You can. You can buy a chocolate milkshake and put it into Tupperware tub.
I'm not going to swear, but I don't give a crap. All these people have had problems. What they could have done is said, right, we're going to sort it out. We'll put them back into the plastic container.
They can't. You know, understand the manufacturing processes. You can't do it that easily. You know, they might not have had the option to wean off. They went from one manufacturing supplier to another manufacturing supplier, and once the bottles are run out, they're run out. The cost of providing both, you can't always do that.
All the reviews you see, from 5 stars, it's gone to 1 star.
And you know what? In a way, I applaud Eshan and the guys and Triton even more from that, because what they've done is they've had a bashing on their product to do what's right. So in that respect, I applaud them even more. They've taken a hit. They've lost business.
You know what?
They've been slagged off to do the right thing.
Yeah, I'm a Triton fan. You know why?
Yeah, I know that, but what I'm saying is not always about reviews. It's not always about people saying your product is the best. For me, if I was going to do the right,
it's not about reviews. It is.
Yeah, I understand that. But what I'm saying is that if I made a decision in my company that I felt that was the right thing to do, but because I made that decision, that I'd get slagged off and my product would be reviewed to 1 star when it was a 5-star previously. But I knew that it was the right thing to do because I was damaging the environment by carrying on doing what I was doing. Then I'd say, you know what? I don't care if my product gets slagged off. I don't care if I get 1-star review, because I'm doing the right thing when it's difficult to do it. You know, so I applaud them for that.
Hey, Nick, let me ask you something about that.
Mm-hmm.
Since they know that these cartons are leaking,
what
are they doing to fix this? Because I understand what you're saying for the and I get it and I agree with you. But at the same time, as a company, I would have to look at, well, I'm doing what's right for the environment, but my customers are losing money.
Yeah,
because they're buying products that.
Yeah, I spoke to Eshan directly about that. You got to look at both
ways.
No, I did. I mean, because O was telling me about the problems, I actually spoke to Eshan directly. And what Eshan said is that they've actually changed the containers from the original ones to other ones. And like I say, the switchover takes time. And they were saying that the newer ones are much better. They're saying that obviously there's still the original ones that were still in process. But he's confident that as they wean through, then they will get a lot better for everybody. And that's why they're saying now, if you do get some of the older types that have leaked or have been damaged, just tell the supplier and they'll replace you, which is what Tim's doing for O.
So they're coming out of pocket. Yeah, they are coming out of pocket.
Yeah, they're losing money.
Right.
Yeah, they're losing money.
changed. Everyone got told that they changed the containers. Did they?
Yeah, but you got to, what you got to understand, Paul, you're not talking 10, 20, 30 containers. They buy thousands of them. So you've got to get through thousands of containers before you're going to get the better ones.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
Go ahead.
What they got told is the first shipment that went to America, bearing in mind, I've not had any leak, and it seems to be the way. It seems to be when the crystallising is causing the leaking. That's what we found out. Every time it crystallises, it's getting under the lip and it's pushing it apart and leaking. That's what we. They got told in America the next shipment has been fixed, been rectified, and there's no more leaking in them. Yet this next shipment has come in and it's still leaking.
But that's what I'm saying.
It's not changing.
No, that's what I'm saying. The shipment that they got, it might not have been the newer stuff that he's talking about because they might still be supplying in the older ones before they
got told, like on the forums and that, they got told the next shipment in, the container's been rectified. And it seems to be a lie. You know what I mean? It seems to be that they didn't get rectified, the containers. And they did get the old shipment still.
It might have been that what they wanted to do was hold off until the new ones were available to use, but because of the demand, they had to send something. So it might have been that they sent it, and then they said, well, look, if any damaged ones, we'll just replace. Instead of holding back so that no one's got it. Because look at Fisher Hex. You know, he finished trying because it wasn't available. So it's okay to say, well, we'll let people wait for months because we don't want to send out the old ones that still leak. We'll make people wait for 3 months, at which point there isn't any users anymore because they've been starved of solutions.
Has the new ones been rectified?
I don't know. I'll ask the question. I don't know because the ones that we have in the UK on the stock shelves might still be the old ones.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know how many they have in stock.
Could you say to the Americans that are getting it over there, the next stock have been rectified? Could you actually speak to him?
I couldn't because I'm not Triton. You know, I'd have to ask the question.
Could you speak to him, seeing if they have been rectified? Because one, it'll put their feet. It's a peace of mind for them in America.
See, but
let me ask the question.
Rectified. Oh, go ahead.
I'll just say no. I'll ask Tim and see if I can get an answer.
In my mind, when they said that they're rectifying the problem, meaning that they sent out stuff, but they have a solution in process. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think what they got told on the forums and that it's been sorted. The next shipment should be fixed, and it didn't seem to be the case. Now that's
when they come out to Magna, because they'll be here in the States, then the people that wants to ask that question can ask that question directly to them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Nick, it seems like I'm digging in, but I'm just telling you.
No, I know, mate. No.
Yeah, but Nick doesn't work for Triton. It's best for whoever has that question to ask it directly to them.
No, but Nick is good mates with him.
Yeah, he's got a good connection with him where he can get that question asked instead of having to wait.
So this is what I'm doing. So I'm firing questions at Nick, and it might be, but these questions, Nick, have nothing to do with me because it's never happened to me. But these are the questions that I get asked all the time because I've been using Triton longer than most people on here. You know what I mean? Might as well throw the questions. What they should have done and all, in my opinion, is still sold the plastic ones as a one-time purchase, obviously at an higher rated price. So you can buy them, and then you've got the containers to refill. That would have been a good way to do it.
Well,
obviously people are not going
to problems with leaking and shipping, Paul.
No. But I'm saying they should give people the option to buy the plastic ones to start with. If they did inflate the price, obviously you're not going to go out and buy an inflated product when you could buy a cheaper one at the end of the day. So just to go out and buy the plastic ones to start with, just set an extra $15 more.
I'd pay extra for glass because I kind of wanted to do Triton on my Nano, but I'm not going to do it if they have a supply issue. You know, that's why I'm running ATI Essentials, which is basically the 3-part dosing that has all the elements. I mean, I know Triton has a couple other things that ATI doesn't, but their stuff comes in glass bottles. You know, and glass bottles, they're liter, but they don't float. So even if they get in the water, they sink. They don't cause the same problems that plastics do.
Yeah. Well, I think it will.
Yeah, but the manufacturing cost of glass is a lot higher too, which increases the carbon footprint.
Yeah, but you get where I'm coming from, Cruz. Just to give people the option to buy them as a product, a forever product, so they can keep the containers forever.
Oh, well, I got a question. Instead of them shipping out brand new bottles, why can't we ship them our old bottles, have them refill it, reseal it, and then send it back to us in the same bottles?
Yeah, but we've got that over here already, Cruz. We've already got that. We've got Triton refill stations in the UK.
See, but that's what we don't have over here.
They need to set up the U.S. one,
Yes.
is what it is.
That's what we don't have over
They need
here.
to set up a U.S. manufacturer or bulk transport. You know, I mean, I know bulk transport is expensive, but if they produce one huge batch of each, sent it here to a distribution, and then packaged it here, you'd probably cut down on a lot of those issues.
Of course. But starting up a manufacturing facility out here in the United States is cost prohibitive a lot of the times. You know how many freaking taxes we have over here?
Oh, I do.
And environmental EPA regulations and standards.
Why?
EPA regulations. Exactly. The friggin' Illinois tax, for instance, if they set up over here, they're going to have to pay property tax. They're going to have to pay maintenance tax on their property. Dude,
I've got another one with Triton, and what another thing that annoys me with Triton is the way that you've got to pay in America. I think it's $52, which Seymour, I need to send you some money. That's just reminding me. The ICP test in America costs like $52, I think they are, and then they make you pay for the postage to ship it back to them.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, come on. At the end of the day, right?
You're trying to be vendor, but when you're buying a product, you don't.
No. Let me. All right. Let me put it to you this way, then. Right. I've got something, right, that you want, yeah, and to give it to you is going to cost you £100. You've got to then make that decision whether you want to pay that £100, because I'll be honest, Paul, this is where sometimes I get annoyed myself. Because people come to me for my systems, my product, right, my aquarium systems, and they complain to me because I'm not as cheap as some of the other competitors. Well, don't buy it from me then.
All right,
yeah, this is my product. This is what I charge. If you don't want it, don't buy it. I'm not ripping you off because I'm asking you for more money. That's not my problem. That's what it costs you to get it. If you don't want to pay it, don't buy it.
My turn.
It's not that they're trying to charge you more or they're trying to get money out of your pocket. Don't buy it.
Listen, right? No, you go to the shop, you pay $52 in America, 30 odd quid over here, and there's nothing on that packet that tells you you've got to fork out more money at the end of it. So you are paying more, but it doesn't tell you that you've got to pay more. You open it, you pay for the postage yourself. Yeah, it doesn't do that. They should tell you that you need to pay for postage.
Then feed that back. Then feed that back to them. Tell them, write a letter, write an email, complain.
Yep,
There's facility for it.
Over here in the U.S., they follow different rules, too. It seems like it's not an equal trade-off. Do you know what I'm saying, Nick? And it has to do with the internals. You know what I'm saying? The way that our postage system is, blah, 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 blah. You know, how America works versus how England works. You know what I'm talking about? Like
I mean,
transport system.
Yeah, I understand that. But the thing is, when originally the Triton came out here, Vince was saying to me, he doesn't want it sold in the shops, which sounds stupid because you think, well, it's product. Why don't you want to sell it? It's like me. People say to me all the time, why don't you mass manufacture and get it worldwide? Because I don't want to do that. I like the fact that I hand make the products.
Yeah,
I'm not always, some companies are not always about global marketing and global production. I like to make specialized equipment for one-to-one people. I don't want to be a mass-produced product. It's not always about money. It's not always about selling in high volumes. For me, I wish Triton was never on the shop shelves, because by putting it on the shop shelves, you get a mass of people buying the product because it's an off-the-shelf product without the understanding, without the ability to utilize the product. And then what happens? The product then gets slammed.
It gets misused.
It gets misused. You get misinformation, and everyone criticizes the product. I wish he'd kept it so it was like invitation only, which is how it was first sold in the UK.
Yeah.
It wasn't for everybody.
Other thing. Exactly. And kind of like, you know, I was giving away stuff for free. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of knowledge. And I get slammed for it. You know what I'm saying? So you charge a lot or you charge nothing, and you still get slammed either way because it's.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, nobody could be happy. You can't please everybody.
How much does it cost in the US? People in the US, how much did it cost to return the Triton test kit? I think over here was over here, Nick, 270 or something. Don't get me wrong, it's not a lot of money, but it'd be nice to know that you had to do it. Because I was shocked when I opened it and I thought, wow. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, it's cheaper than what's the other one? The other ICP test?
The ATI.
ATI. You've got to return theirs to Germany, so we've got to pay international shipping. To send theirs off. But this one, we only send it to the UK and they ship it away.
Right, I've got some feedback back from Tim about the packaging. What they're saying is that there are stronger cartons coming soon. They've been working and testing to make sure that, because what they don't want to do is say, right, these ones are okay. And then when they go out, they found them still to be having issues. So what they've done is they're still like testing the cartons. They're still making sure that they're pretty much bulletproof before they let them go out, because if they find that they're still insufficient, then they can, look again before producing the product and then having thousands of stock. And then people go, oh, you said you fixed it, but you haven't. So I've asked him for a time frame, and he says not yet for public release. So in other words, they have got containers. Which they're testing now to make sure.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, Paul. They say that they have a solution and they're in remediation, or they're remediating the problem. I think that it was word of mouth that said it was already remediated. Do you know what I'm saying? Remediation means that they've dealt with it all. They haven't. There's trickle through, especially when shipping internationally. There's going to be some delay. You know what I'm saying? Even though they might be producing with the newer stuff, with the newer solution, they might still be, the old products are en route to certain areas. Do you want to recall those too? Mid-ship, mid-ocean transport.
Yeah, it's like You got Dev. So in Canada, it's $59.99 for the Triton test. Yeah. We got to pay between $10 and $12 to return it. Now that $10 and $12, it would have been nice up front. So they've got to if it was stamped on there.
Yeah, I've just asked Tim. I've just made that point to Tim. I've just said that to him. So I'm reading that message at the moment.
What you need to understand, Nick, right? All these questions I've thrown at you is what I've been asked, and I'm like, I don't know.
No, I understand that, but at the same time, it's like with anything. Yeah, it's you could do this better and you could do that better, but then give them the feedback, because if people talk about it, but don't tell them, they don't always know. And then what happens is, why do they do this and why do they do that? And then you speak to the company, they go, well, we never knew that was an issue, because we told the retailers to make it clear when they sold it that obviously depending on where they live, then there'd be postage, and whatever that postage is dependent on where they are in the world.
Yeah, for me, if it was priced at 35 quid, right? So just say it was 35 quid, and there was a return postage label in it. I think I'd be like,
he's saying here, look at the test then again, because he's saying to me, clearly says on the label to attach the correct postage. That's his response. He says, it clearly says on the label.
On the label inside, or on the outside?
I don't know, that's what he says.
The label on the inside. Now. Who's got a Triton test kit with him? Seymour. Yo. Right, you've got a Triton test kit there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Right, does it say on there that you've got to pay for postage? On the box.
Does it say what?
You have to pay for postage on the box on the outside.
Yeah, we have to pay for postage.
No. I know you do, but does it say it on the box?
Let me check.
I've just said to him, is that on the inside of the box?
ICP OES, Professional Seawater Analysis. Parameters tested. Box. It doesn't say that. It just has Chinese, Italian, basic skill sample to try and lab for testing. You may use this box to send your water sample.
He's just said it's on the inside.
There you go. That's a bit. What am I supposed to do? Open the box and go, I've got to pay for postage.
Yeah.
No, if it was on the outside, small print, don't make a difference if it's small print. At least it's there. At least you know you've got an added fee. You know what I mean? Or up the price a couple of pounds, couple of dollars, and then do free postage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like for bulk postage. I don't think they have that. I don't think they have that infrastructure worked into their business model yet. Do you know what I'm saying, Paul?
Yeah. At the end of the day, if they did do like free return postage, they'd have to do specific ones for America, specific ones for Canada, specific ones for the UK. You know what I mean?
It does become a logistical nightmare. You know what I'm saying? When they're supposed to only concentrate about water and water chemistry, all of a sudden now they have to become a logistics company as well.
I say if it was stamped on the box or cruise, I could justify that, but it's not.
Yeah.
You don't know. Like, if you get your very first test,
that's one of the problems. That is one of the problems that we've noticed. Even in pharmaceuticals.
Cruz and Nick, I'm gonna send you guys my opinions on that, but I'm not.
Okay.
Let me just mute him. Right, go on. It was being
well,
nice.
I'm saying that going through international, that has been identified as one of the biggest problems, is that we don't understand the other country's postage system or postal system. You know what I'm saying, Paul?
Yeah.
So I mean, it has been noted, not just in the hobby, but also in in big pharma, big business, and stuff like that. Which is one of the reasons why Anheuser-Busch and Budweiser, we bottle overseas, in the local area. Not all Budweiser is made over here in the United States. It's made overseas with quality control.
Now, quick question.
So, yeah.
Why can't they just sell it as in dry form and have the end user mix it?
Oh,
because you run into the same issue that some of these other products have. On trace elements, do you know how small of an amount per liter you're talking about powder wise? Minuscule amounts where it seems like the bottle's empty, and then then customers are going to complain. I got this friggin' bottle of trace and it's empty.
And to be honest, one of the things I like about Triton, and Nick always says, is that it comes from a lab. He's from a family of chemists. It's come from the lab, and it's lab tested, and it's extra pure.
Correct.
It then becomes less extra pure. And I think one of the things I like about Triton is that we're all using it. We're all using the same solutions. There's no V1 and V2.
Yep. It's already pre-mixed. No user error, no mixing error.
Can't hear you, Seymour.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
One of the things about
No, we can't hear
you. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. One of the things about using BRS 2-part or something like that is the fact that
mixing error.
Like mixing error, like it doesn't even account for this time you might use pure RODI water. This time we might not even, because BRS instructions are like fill the jug up to like three quarters of this. So
because they understand that their concentration won't make or break the end result.
Yep.
Also, I think it's the process as well, because what you're assuming is that it can be made in powder form.
Exactly.
Some of the reasons, like people said to me before, why do they give you 4 bottles? Why don't they just give you 1 bottle with everything in it? And the reason is that in the concentrations, you get counter reactions within the ingredients, so you can't do that. So it's also that, can you make it into a powdered form? Can you do that and get the same? Because part of the reaction could be because it's now in liquid state. Whereas if it was in a powdered state, you'd have to go through several steps before you could make it into a liquid state. And then,
Correct.
I mean, it's like also like if you one sec, Cruz, one sec. Also, it's also like you think about it. How many people do their tests wrong? Like calcium tests. When you put something in the hands of a user, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, then you also are going to then have also a level of human error, because one person can read instructions and then somebody else can read this exactly the same instructions, but do two different things because their interpretation of the instructions can be different, or they scan read it and think they're doing it correctly. Then when they read the instructions again, they go, "Oh, I didn't see that bit."
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. There was a guy on one of the streams where he was slamming the Ruby Reef product. And he was saying, don't ever, ever, ever use this product because it killed all of my fish. What happened was that on the instructions, it said, when you're using this product, switch off your skimmer, right? Medication, switch off skimmer. We know that. So he switched off his skimmer. After questioning him, because I've used that product with great success, when I questioned him, turns out he was using biopellets. But because the instructions didn't say switch off the skimmer and if you're using a bioreactor, he didn't switch off the bioreactor. But anyone using biopellets knows that you use a skimmer in conjunction with the biopellet reactor. So if you're going to switch off the skimmer, you also need to remove your biopellets, right?
Yeah.
So because the instructions didn't do that, he didn't switch off the reactor. The reactor was still working away, creating all that bacteria. His water went all cloudy because of the bacteria bloom and sucked all the oxygen out of the water, suffocated his fish. But he hadn't done anything different than use this medication, and the medication told him to switch the skimmer off. Therefore, it was the medication that killed his fish. Then he went on to live streams, he went on to forums, telling everybody, because he was obviously irate, that this medication had killed all his fish. But it was user error.
Got it.
So that's why I think sometimes you need to protect people from themselves sometimes. And that's why I say I don't mean that disrespectfully, because there's a lot of hobbyists out there that would be able to follow the instructions precisely and do a good job. However, what about the ones that wouldn't? You got to kind of protect them against themselves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And getting into the chemistry side of it, of, powdered forms, some of them are anhydrous, meaning that, they're devoid of any water. So any water vapor that the bottles may get while it's sitting on the shelf or, during the manufacturing process, it can alter the stability of the powdered form as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's on the chemistry side of it. Yeah.
Cruz, I was saying to them earlier that, with the things like magnesium, calcium and other things that, the O was saying that somebody mentioned about the two-part from BRS that they'd improved the purity of it. And somebody asked the question, so if you've improved the purity of it and there's less contaminant in it by volume, does that mean that we would need to lower our dosing because now we're not adding a part of that dosing volume as contaminant? And BRS was kind of saying, it depends really. And what I was saying was that sometimes with certain elements of that, because it's now a purer form or a higher caliber of that compound or element,
the higher purity.
It means that the coral can uptake it more easily, which might actually mean rather than dose less, you might dose. You might need to dose more because the corals can utilize it better and then more readily. Is that right?
Yeah, true.
Right.
Yeah,
I said to them, I couldn't give them the biological reason for it.
Or a simple fact is that it's just it's a way to market, because it's like having baking soda. Say my baking soda is 98% pure baking soda, and the fillers are non-reactive, like whatever makes up the. No, non-reactive. Like basically, they're like completely won't react with anything. And then you come back out and say, all right, now I'm 99% pure. That 2% really doesn't make a big difference when it's not that soluble anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like BRS's products were never something that could be super saturated to the point where
they were meant to take off the shelf products that are commercially available already, and they just mixed it into a form that is usable by the reefing hobby. They weren't looking to create from lab grade stuff. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was. I mean, that was the whole point of Randy's recipes.
Randy
you
Holmes,
know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Randy Holmes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I just call him Randy. But I mean, with with Randy's recipes, it's taking off the shelf typically, and normally available in to everybody, to the regular person, to be able to go out there and get it. So the purity in that was never questioned before. You know what I'm saying? When people started questioning purity, all of a sudden he's changing up his recipe, and he did that recently. Yeah. And when he actually went to a pure form, go ahead.
Real quick, guys, are we talking about the BRS stuff or something else?
We're talking about his updated recipe that BRS
I just wanted to make sure I had to chime out for a second, so I wanted to make sure I'm on track still.
The stuff that
I'm just wondering, I'm just wondering about the group, because we've kind of hijacked Reef O's video because it's about Triton method. I just wonder if O wanted to go in, because I know he wanted to talk about Triton and how to use it and help people, to guide people about it. Well, and then we could maybe do a live stream, and
we've been on
later.
We've been on for like 11, 12. We've been on for 2 hours and 40 minutes. I think the first hour and a half we were on. I'm fine. I think the first hour and a half we were pretty much spot on. So I'm fine with discussing. I think what I'm gonna do, what I've learned with these live streams, I think I'm gonna leave it up. But what I might do, I might cut out pieces of. I might download the entire video and then edit some.
Finally, somebody is gonna do that.
Because I think sometimes live streams are so long, and then like there's we do discuss a lot of things, but sometimes there's some good nuggets in there that
definitely
somebody doesn't want to watch the entire 3-4 hour live stream. So we'll probably run it for another hour or so, but we can move off. But if anyone in the chat has any Triton questions, absolutely post it, but I'm fine.
Yeah, I just didn't want people to feel that they'd come on, talk about Triton, and they've been waiting for a question or something, because it's difficult with reefing, because that's why I'm saying it's not a bad thing that we move on to other topics, because they're all related, and that's the great thing. When you have these live streams, you can start off on one subject and end up on a completely different subject, but it's all relevant information. It's all useful information. It's just sometimes I think if we can concentrate information surrounding the original topic, then it gives anybody, like O saying, he's got to edit a video now, where we could make it easier for people to get that information without having to be honest, pull out bits and pieces.
Someone who's thinking about doing Triton now would want to compare it to another method. So if you're talking about the purity and BRS, and I know Mage was talking about, I know she's back in the chat, but she was talking about she's running like Aquaforest or something else. So I'm fine with it. I think it's worth it, because we don't want to sound like, I think Triton, like an
infomercial.
Fit me. Does it fit me? I wanted to do it to lessen or eliminate water changes. Somebody else, it might not be a good fit, or someone might want to size it up versus biopellets or Aquaforest or BRS 2-part. So I'm fine. I'm fine with it. DC, you have any more questions? Oh, DC dropped out, but DC's in the chat. I'm cool, guys. You guys can continue. Sorry.
Awesome. Thanks, Pops.
Okay. Yeah, we just wanted to make sure that your stream is getting what it needs to. Oh,
exactly.
And I apologize for
No, it's not. I wasn't criticizing Cruz. I was just thinking, at some point we need to before we get fully into something, let's just readdress first, if that's okay, before we get into something else.
I forget about it. I am human.
That's because you're passionate. That's why, like we all are, It's easy for us to do that.
Well, before y'all move too far, can I make a comment on what y'all were talking about a little while ago?
Sure.
No. Sorry, no, go for it, bro. I'm kidding.
So, y'all are talking about Triton and using the concentrates and this and that. I'm using the ATI Essentials, which is a concentrate. And even, I have a pretty good chemical background, especially when it comes to mixing and dilutions and, mixing appropriate portions. And like that one, so they sell you the bottle, they give you the instructions, but they don't accurately label it. they tell you it's a 500 milliliter bottle, set of 3 bottles. One alkalinity, 1 calcium with trace elements, 1 magnesium with trace elements. Well, when you take the powder, it's not 500 milliliters. It's in grams because it's not, a bottle filled up to the same line as the other 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the problem with, like y'all are about to go into purity, that's why I want to talk about that. You get these more advanced methods, and you have hobbyists, reefers, that want to use these advanced methods. And like you're talking about the purity. Well, most people, the purity of BRS's stuff, the few impurities from what
Did we lose him?
Sorry. Yeah, I had a call coming in, but I'll call him back. The impurities in it don't harm anything. They're a filler product essentially, right?
Mm-hmm. Non-reactive.
Right, non-reactive. So when you go to a more pure, now you're going to have more, you're going to get a stronger solution. Well, your average hobbyist is more likely to screw that up because it takes such a fine adjustment. To me, that was the beauty of the old BRS stuff, is that lower purity is geared for your average hobbyist, where you add, you can add a lot and not have a lot of effect. So to me, they shouldn't have changed their formulas. They should have added the more pure line to give you the stronger concentrations.
Now, how big of a difference in concentration are we talking about?
I don't know yet because I haven't seen any of what its numbers are.
Here's my thing. Like, I don't think it really affects concentration. I think it's about how much you're using to, like, gram for gram. That's how I think it is. Like, so instead to basically, like, on the old thing, let's say you would have to use 100 grams to get this result. Like, let's say 10 DKH. Now you have to use maybe 80 grams to get to 10 DKH. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily like concentration. It's just more, I don't know.
But it is concentration because so before, if you had to mix, or let's break it down into the final solution. Okay. You mix 100 grams of each.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You mix 100 grams of the old, you mix 100 grams of the new. Before, you would use 50 milliliters a day. Yeah. Now you only have to use 30 milliliters a day. Well, if your dosing pump is wrong, before you might have been adding 55. Well, that's only a 10% difference. Now, if you're adding 35 instead of 30, then, that's more along 18%, 19%?
Mm-hmm.
So...
I just remember the point I was trying to make. So basically, like, they're using essentially like bicarbonate. What is it? Bicarbonate, right? For alkalinity. Bicarbonate can only be so soluble at a given at the average temperature we're mixing stuff at. So no matter the purity, you're gonna have to keep adding bicarbonate. Now, if the filler is non-reactive, it's just gonna settle out of the solution.
Right, and it doesn't hurt anything.
And it doesn't affect, exactly. So you're still going to need X amount of bicarbonate to get the same result. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I look at it as they're trying to save their end users money by saying, like, now, like, instead of the filler falling out, there's not as much stuff falling out, so you don't have to, like, because bicarbonate's only so soluble. You can't, like, you're not going to super saturate it.
Yeah,
oversaturated. You get what I'm saying?
Can I say? Yeah, can I say something on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, in regards to the to that new purity, kind of like what DC was saying. There's only so much that you could dissolve in it. That's one of the reasons for the adjustment of adding sodium hydroxide. They want to show that there is a pH boost. When they went pure, they lost that boost, or they lost a lot of it. Do you know what I'm saying? That's one of the reasons
took the
why
sodium hydroxide out.
So they had calcwater in the mix.
No. Sodium hydroxide is just a
regular
basic solution.
Yeah.
No, it's
soda ash, right?
Yeah. No.
No, it's not even soda ash. It's a chemical. It's sodium hydroxide. It's a white crystal.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why they added sodium hydroxide. You could also utilize potassium hydroxide to get the same results, but they utilize sodium hydroxide because it's cheaper.
Gotcha.
It's a lot more readily available, where there is no shortage of it. Potassium hydroxide is a little bit more reactive, can become caustic on your skin when you start sweating. Sodium hydroxide also has a very, very similar property, but it takes a little bit longer. It's not as aggressive. So,
gotcha.
And the regular person utilizing that recipe would be able to actually go out and buy it. Potassium hydroxide, you're going to have a license.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
potassium hydroxide was saltpeter, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, saltpeter. Yeah.
One of the things that they utilize in chemical
Explosive.
Fertilizers.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to talk about that.
Sorry.
We don't want to talk about that on O-Stream. But you know what I'm talking about. You need a license for it.
Yeah.
You need some type of regulations around it. Ammonium hydroxide as well. You also have to be reputable. They do a quick background check on you. So I mean, when they're going through making these recipes, they don't want to have to deal with any federal entity. So that's one of the reasons why certain chemicals are made a certain way, or certain additives in our hobby is made a certain way, because of regulations. So
gotcha, makes sense.
Yeah. So when they changed the purity, it affected the solubility. Just like what DC said, you change the purity, you can't affect the solubility. Once that happens, the solubility, well, there goes your freaking carbonates out of the solution. Once the carbonates are out of the solution, your pH goes down overall, like in a fixed volume. So they needed a way to bump it back up to what we've seen, the pH boost that we've seen when we're adding the normal carbonates, the alkalinity portion of it. So they had to make an adjustment. But once again, what the hell do I know?
Nah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so we're used to it, in the hobby. We're used to reactions happening. We're used to seeing pH going up, as opposed to, when we're adding alkalinity, we're seeing a pH boost. If we don't see it, we think it's a dud.
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to avoid.
Gotcha.
So.
Sorry, guys. They keep calling my phone. They're trying to get me to train people today.
Tell them it's Saturday, man.
It's the best time to train people, though. So when Monday comes, they're already trained up.
No. This is 180 plus hours of training for this doc.
Ouch.
Yeah. No, we had it for our safety, for our ERT, our emergency response team. We typically hold those on Saturday because they're about 4 or 5 hours long.
If you ever need a safety man cruise, let me know.
Where are you at?
Louisiana.
Oh, man.
I'll move for a safety job, though.
All right. We just hired a lady. She's pretty good.
Is she?
And I guarantee you she's a lot better looking, too.
Oh. I don't know if she'll do what I'll do for a safety job, though.
What wouldn't you do is the question.
Oh, man.
I'm kidding. If HR was here, I'd be assed out right now.
Yeah.
Good thing I'm off the clock.
But yeah. But yep. So.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of validity, and when people or the hobbyists start getting smarter and start to ask smarter questions, it seems like they don't want to give up the formula, and there's a reason for that. You know what I'm saying? It took them years. I mean, for the better part of the freaking hobby, to develop what they did. Nobody else had it. Nobody else went that extra mile to develop what they developed. And it's very, very easy to copy. You know what I'm saying? It's very easy. That's one of the reasons why Miracle Mud will not tell you what the extra 20% is. It's why KFC says, yeah, this is what we use, but we're not going to tell you the ratios.
But it tastes,
Yeah.
of what the
it
ingredients
tastes
are.
good.
Yeah.
It tastes good. I love some KFC, man.
Ain't
Oh,
nothing like fried chicken.
I know.
Oh, y'all are
KFC, some
killing me.
freaking Brown's chicken.
I just stopped and got pick a pack chicken, and I got a box of chicken, for lunch and dinner because we didn't have any groceries at the house. It's sitting up on the levee right now. I dropped all my stuff off and drove back down to the terminal.
Gotcha. Sorry about
Making
that,
me
man.
hungry.
Making you hungry.
Oh, you good? But yeah, so real quick,
So
what I was trying to say is
mhm.
that TMG or is that DC that I'm talking to?
You're talking to
Okay,
TMG.
TMG. I wasn't trying to get into the particulars of the BRS, but what I've
No.
noticed in general, a lot of your hobbyists don't want to or don't have the capacity to understand the chemical knowledge you need to get into ultra concentrates, high purity. That's why to me, like even let's refusion. Everybody's seen it, not everybody's used it, but okay, 2 bottles, you add them in equal parts, unless you're way out of whack. You add them in equal parts, and it tells you start with so many capfuls per so many gallons. They're making it even easier. Use the cap as a measuring cup. So you can measure it in number of caps. Because they're trying to make it simple for your average hobbyist. Like we were talking about that yesterday with something, or the other day. Oh, like Red Seas and stuff. The Red Seas. Yeah, they're expensive, but they're made for a particular market. They're made for your to me, your hobbyist
Medium to advanced. Yep, medium to advanced.
Well, even a Red Sea. I'm not talking about the chemicals. I'm talking about the tanks.
Oh, gotcha.
The Red Sea tanks. They're stupid expensive. Most of us probably wouldn't buy one if you're more into it because well, I can get whatever Planet Aquarium's tank or Deep Blue tank, drilled, get my own perfect sized sump with everything the way I want it, blah blah blah. That's not their market. Their market is the person that wants a reef tank. Now they've got the money. Either they might be younger and working, or middle aged, and I've always wanted a reef tank, and now I've got money to get it. Well, go to a shop. What's the easiest thing for me? Well, this is the best bet for you. It's the tank, it's the sump, it's everything. All you got to do is add this protein skimmer to it, plug it in, everything. It's got all the pieces. There's no cutting, there's no fitting, there's no, you know what I mean? And
it's all ready to go.
Spend the money and set it up. Done. And to me, that's what a lot of even beginner hobbyists that don't have a chemical background run into is they start trying to run things like biopellets, and they don't fully understand it, and they don't take the time to understand it. They want the quick fix without doing the background and get themselves into trouble.
Yep.
Not
like
everybody
wants to know the chemistry. Yeah, not everybody wants to know the chemistry.
I remixed my ATI stuff because I had mixed it wrong. I tried to measure it and weigh it out, but I didn't get the concentrations right on that alkalinity. And I know because at 4 mils per day in my nano, my calcium and my magnesium are dropping, but my alkalinity is climbing. They were all 3 stable where I needed them, but I have 1 climbing and 2 of them falling. So something's not right in the concentrations. I pulled everything out because I'd only used like 50 to 100 mils of what I had mixed. Put it into 2.5 gallon containers, mixed it like they say to their instructions. But even then, in the bottom of the alkalinity, because theirs is a concentrate, you've got a liquid part 2, which is your calcium, liquid part 3, which is magnesium, powdered part 1, which is your alkalinity. So I'm assuming it's carbonate, maybe with soda ash, I don't know, or sodium hydroxide in it for the pH, but remixed everything and it wouldn't dissolve. The powder wouldn't dissolve. Well, it's because it's 70-degree water sitting in my air-conditioned house, So I took the canister, set it outside a couple mornings ago when it was going to be an 85-degree day, and let it heat up as the sun came up. Then shook it, and oh look, all the powder's gone. Some people don't even realize that if you're mixing kalkwasser and stuff. Well, if you're using cold RODI, it's not going to mix the same as if you're using heated water. And so I think if you get too complex with some of the stuff, your average say, entry to average level hobbyists won't be able to use it effectively.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons why when they started coming out with the BRS stuff, you notice that it says, "Oh, calcium chloride when you mix it with water will get hot."
Yep.
And then
And
with the
hydro
alkalinity,
solution.
it's the exactly. And the other one with the alkalinity, it gets actually a little bit colder, which is weird too. You know what I'm saying? So you need to start off with warm in order to get to tepid, or what we call normal temperature water.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Any questions in the chat, people? Not only about Triton, but about everything, anything. Somewhat. Well, I got a related Triton question, I think, and someone says, yes, Triton right now, I see it available on the Unique Corals website, but it is not available on the Bulk Resupply website. I don't know. Like I said, I have some theories about Triton and stuff, but I'm gonna message Cruz and Nick privately. I'm not gonna say it on an open forum, but Unique Corals, they're the distributor, so I'm assuming that they probably get the stock in first in California, and then it takes like a few days or something to sort of get the pallets over to BRS. So I'm assuming that's the. And Reef Dudes wants to know, should I go for the Kessel? Yes, you should go for the Kessel. If you have the credits to do it, you said you have credits, then do it. But otherwise, man,
And
there's
just
a
to
lot of
throw
other
him
lights.
off, no, Dev, don't do it.
Hey, on my nano tanks, I've used white LEDs. I've used some other LEDs that Dave's nano tanks made for me. They all work, man. But I think I explained to Dev the other day, I traded a pump for the Kessel. So I had a pump that I wasn't happy with anyway, and I traded it for the Kessel. But there's a lot. Yeah, man, it's a $300 light. So it's up to you. But if you have the credits, I would go for it for
why
the cool
not?
factor. Yeah. But then again, if the store also sells like some other lights that you can pocket some money and get like some reef brights or something that still do the job and it's gonna make your refugium like better. Because the thing with the purple
Why
light is
not?
it's going to be hard to film. You can't see the microfauna on it. So if you're going to get something like a white light that you could, like a display refugium that you could look at, that's going to look good. It's going to be easier to film. That's also because when I'm filming my refugium, it's just a big purple blob on camera. It's really hard to film.
So when you're talking about all that growth, we can't see it. Purple blob.
Yeah, it's fake. It's fake.
Hey, he said
fake news. Fake news.
He said he could grow the Chaeto on the coral light. You could probably, but I think you'll. The thing is, yeah, you could probably do it, but I think you could. You could, if you're gonna grow Chaeto under like an XR15, you could sell that XR15, pocket a few $100s. And then buy like a cheaper light. Coral. Yeah, buy some more coral and then put a cheaper light on the refugium.
Yep.
Yeah. It still will grow. But again, I'm looking for my refugium to be like
super powered.
Nice to look at.
The super part about I want it to be my primary method of filtration.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking for it to be like
pretty
for it to be ready. for it to also I don't look like anything will grow Chaeto. You could use use the Home Depot bulbs to grow Chaeto and it'll help. But I'm looking for something high powered. Whether I think Cruz, you and I had a discussion a couple weeks ago about which one of the
23 watt, the 23 watt floodlight by Sylvania, the night chasers.
They'll all work.
Really, really powerful. Yeah, pretty.
What
powerful.
the floodlights in the black housing?
No. It's just the floodlights. It's made by Sylvania. It's called the Night Chaser. It's 23 watts actual, but it's an equivalent of 2,500 watts incandescent. So it's pretty dang powerful. Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of punch through that one.
Yeah.
But once again, if you don't know what you're doing, you can burn your gato and your other macroalgae. You just have to know what you're doing. One of the hardest parts to quantify with different people what you need to know.
Yeah.
You can actually get those Sylvania, like the floodlights. You could get them in 75 watts for like a few bucks. So that's actually a good deal. Yeah, you can actually get, the Kessel, man. You don't have to spend the money to get a good refugium light.
Yeah, I would never purchase a Kessel.
Get that, what is it, that 1200 they have now?
Oh.
Have you seen that? A 1200 refugium light they make?
Yeah, but
it's like $1,300.
The thing is, BRS turned it down to 95 watts, which is 5 watts more than the H380.
Yeah,
and it's still
still too much.
I guess if you had a massive like Tidal Garden sized tanks, with a huge grow tub, or like maybe like Alex G stuff where he's got 1,600 gallons of system. And you had a 100-gallon refugium, then it might be worth to put it a couple feet over where it'll have enough intensity to light that whole refugium section.
Yep. He said, "Are you some T5 grow light strips for $30?" In fact, to be honest, Reef Dudes, that's kind of, if you look at what Triton recommends, that's kind of what they recommend. They recommend the T5 grow lamps. They recommend using T5 because they say it's gonna create like a full blanket of light, with less hot spots, and it's gonna allow your Chaeto, the entire refugium, to grow evenly. So if you look at the Triton, I know you're not trying to do Triton, but on the Triton documentation, they recommend using T5. So, I think either one of those will work. Just make sure it's a high powered light,
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need the Kessel. But you do have to, I put a little bit more effort in my refugium because I'm looking for it to be one of my main sources of filtration, along with my skimmer. That's pretty much the only filtration I have on the tank, just a skimmer and the refugium.
Yeah, my next tank is going to be built around the refugium.
Yeah, you could. A Chaeto reactor was doing a good job for me.
Yeah, look at me! I ran solely Chaeto for six months.
Oh, Chaeto reactor does work. It's just too small for me.
Yeah.
I was filling that Phosband 550 in 2 weeks, a week and a half.
Yep.
It would go from a racquetball sized piece to a full reactor, and then I'd have to take it out and scrub it and all that. So if I had a larger reactor, then I would consider it like one of those massive ones. I would probably run that still on my 75, but
yeah, and maintenance is a it's not a problem, but the fact is, when you have a refugium, you literally just grab a handful or two every week and dump it, and that's your nutrient export. With Triton, you gotta with a Chaeto reactor, you got to take it out to make sure the O-rings are still tightened. And then it can be a pain when you're using O-rings and the little rubber gaskets. If you get a little piece of Chaeto on it, it doesn't close properly. You have to retighten it, and then it'll leak. Yeah, that's I've had that issue happen to me a couple of times. So you have to be careful. So all of that you have to take into account when you're doing it.
Yeah. Hey, I got some exciting goodies coming this week.
Goodies.
Anything?
That guy, that Printed Reefing Solutions that I'd been talking about.
Yeah.
He got my full order printed and shipped.
What are you printing?
Do you have stuff from him, TMG?
What are you talking about?
Printed Reefing Solutions. It's 3D printed.
No, what is he printing?
Oh, dosing holders, probe holders, float switch holders, moss racks, frag carriers.
Ooh.
Equipment, like the controller holders for like your Ecotech stuff. Not Ecotech. Is it Ecotech? J-Bow, he makes a bunch of them. But I know I've talked about his stuff a couple of times.
Wait,
So
so he prints. Oh, he prints them, and they're cool.
3D printed. Yep.
Oh.
You can get all different colors. I got black because all the trim on my Nano is black, but he's also in because he gave me a discount on it all because I'm going to do some videos on it. But he also threw in the box a magnetic frag rack and his new version of his frag carrier to go home from like frag swaps and stuff with.
Oh, that is nice.
He has an API combo organizer. Do you know, Jeeves, if he has has one for like the what's it called? What's the test kits we use? The HANA checkers?
I'm getting the second gen prototypes of his HANA stuff to demo for him to try out and tweak. So
Jeeves.
I'm also getting all the Salifert drying racks and organizers from him.
Jeeves, you got a friend in me.
You got a friend in me?
So I'm getting these are still his prototype models. He said, I think that they're where they need to be, but I'm going to send you the HANAs with everything else. And I just paid for materials on the HANAs.
Nice.
Do you think he'll sell me one of the HANA checker organizers? I'll pay for it.
Well, that's he might, he may not. I'll talk to him, but that's what he's sending it to me to use for a little while, and then get with him. And if it's good, then I can put a video out. And he's going to put them on the website.
Nice.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm not even doing it for like a video or stuff. I'll just pay for if I'm.
Well, yeah. Once he gets them finalized, he'll have them for sale on the website. He hasn't had anybody use them yet because he had them for show at that big frag swap we had in March to display them, but he hasn't had anybody to field test them, quote unquote, for him. And so I just contacted him. He said, yeah, they're still in, I still haven't finalized them for sure yet, but I think they're where they need to be. I'll sell them to you for materials cost. And, then if I have to tweak them again, I'll send you the updated versions, for just paying the postage or whatever.
Man, how do you guys find these people?
I saw him at this show and then emailed him. But so I'm going to have a magnetic frag rack 3D printed from him to give away. And then I'm going to have that new version of his frag carrier, which that's the one Nick kind of really liked. But that's what I was just reading his email a minute ago. He's updated it where it's designed to carry your frags home, but he's also designed it now where the piece comes in and out easier. And it's got a handle. So you can actually just straight coral dip it, pull the whole frag carrier, the rack for the plugs out, and then dip it in a bucket of tank water once you've dipped them. He made them where you can swirl it around and...
Have a look at this. I got this today. All right? This is for our giveaway. I've not even opened it. Right? But it is a frag rack with... There we go.
Oh, no.
Let me just pin this so you can see it. Right, so you can see this.
Yeah.
Magnetic frag rack.
With drop-in frag holders.
No, that's because I had it upside down. It was in that way, so we didn't snap during posting. Well, they're going that way. You can put them on your deck of your sand bed.
Right, or on the rack.
Yeah, in the rack.
That's pretty cool.
Well, full of magnetic. I can't get that magnet off. There you go.
That's nifty.
That actually goes that way. Yeah, like that. Big though, that, isn't it? Even comes with spare ones, so you can keep them on your sand, like one on your sandbag. If you want to pick them up in frag rack.
Nice.
This is for the giveaway that me and Michael are doing. On the this expo we're doing.
Isn't it?
Right, that, Nick.
Hey, buddy. Sorry, mate. Let me have a look. Sorry, I had to take a call. Dropped out.
From Toby, the new frag rack.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Well, I said these come out.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I did have an idea before I was speaking to someone about doing a frag rack where you could have drop-in different trays. Does he give you like a different size You know those bits that go in. Have they got different size holes in them, or are they all the same?
No, they're all the same.
Yeah, because someone was saying to me that depending on what they're fragging and stuff, it'd be nice to have different size holes because of the, the size of the plug, so they could squeeze more or less into them.
Yeah, he give us that. He give us these plugs, so it must be, your
Oh,
standard
Zoa plugs.
Yeah, your standard
Yeah.
plugs. And then give us a glue, frag glue,
Mm.
and Toby.
His key rings.
You got to have one of his key rings.
Yeah.
Everything you buy with Toby gives you a key ring, but you can pick your colour.
They're really cool. Yeah, I've got one of those. Yeah, they're nice.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I say, for me, I won't put that in my tank personally because it's too big.
Mm-hmm. Nick, did you hear about that frag carrier?
What's that?
Remember that frag carrier I was showing you from that 3D print guy?
Ah, yeah.
Was it Zen Reef or was it?
No, it's
Reefing Obsessions.
Hold on.
Oh, because I want that Hannah test kit one he does.
Yeah, well, he's sending me the Hannah test ones to test because they still hasn't finalized them. Printed Reefing Solutions is the name of the company.
Oh,
but so he's sending me that new frag carrier that's designed with Revive. You use one capful, so it's a frag carrier to carry your frags home, which you saw, right? But he changed it where it's got a handle on it now, and it's got space where you can pull that tray in and out and spin it around, so you can dip them in that container on the carrier when you get home, then pull them out, dip them in tank water, and then put them in the tank from there. So you don't have to take them out of the carrier, dip them individually. You can dip them all in the carrier itself in one shot with one capful of Revive.
Nice. Did he mention anything about us bringing it over to the UK? Because I remember I was interested in getting it over here.
I sent him the email about it. I don't think he did, but I might have emailed them that when he was on vacation.
Yeah, I'd like to try and get his stuff over here.
So what he said is, we'll set up a time to talk when I get the shipment.
Right.
And so maybe what I can do is I'll coordinate with you too, where I can get you on there. And once I've had a chance, I'm going to try to do it once I've had a chance to play with the Hannah checkers holders a little. So if I have any feedback, I can give that to him. And then I can cue you in on the call and have
that'd be cool.
Discuss with him.
Well, I know this is Seymour's stream, and I've just got to say, United are in the final of the FA Cup. Whoop, whoop. Anyway, where was we?
Is this Seymour's stream? I thought this was our stream.
Yeah.
It's Seymour's stream.
It was. He's going out now, so it's ours now.
Huh.
Welcome to Reefing with Paul and Reefing with G. So,
all right, guys, I'm gonna listen for a little while. I'm gonna go and check in with these terminal guys and get all my orders and stuff. So I'll be listening for a little bit, but I won't be able to talk.
No way. All right.
Once we talk about the next how super duper orbs and my tank is, let's talk about that. It's always good.
Somebody said that their tank was more awesome than yours, Paul.
Yeah, they're lying. I hate liars, me.
I know, right? Nah, it's an opinion. Some people don't kill fish. They think that they're awesome.
Yeah. See, I've not killed a fish in ages. I had one commit suicide, but it killed itself. You know what I mean?
You killed it by allowing that to happen.
I did. Well, that's what. Do you know what? I've got a net on my tank, and when I was doing what was I doing? Just regular cleaning. I took the lid off, cleaned the glass, went outside, to empty the, clean the filter socks and that.
Yep. And the smoke.
Most probably. The day after, I had a towel dry my hands with. I always throw it in the cupboard. The day after, I pulled the towel out and
dry fish fell out of it. So he must have jumped out onto the towel, and we not noticed, just wrapped the towel up and threw it in the cupboard. But,
That was your fault then.
no. If the fish didn't commit suicide, it wouldn't have done it, would it? It must have just been depressed in that it was depressed in that little box.
Dude, if I had to look at you every day, I'm just kidding.
Right, where's the mute button?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, ice is fish.
No, I'm sitting in the hospital right now.
Why, what's up?
Oh, nothing. Just this and that.
Can't just say you're in the hospital and say this and that. Well, I hope you get well soon.
No, thanks. But yeah, just sitting in my car until they freaking call me, smoking.
They're trying to find out why Cruz's brain is so large.
Yeah.
We
Thanks,
what?
Nick.
It runs
in the family, you know that, right?
Right.
It runs in the family. The brain just starts swelling.
Look at me.
Your head is small. Won't be able to take the pressure.
No. It's already,
Let me ask you a question,
already
Ian.
struggling.
I've got this refugium, right?
Yeah.
Never had a refugium before. Is there a problem with running the light 24 hours?
No, we run our Cato 24 hours.
Right.
The Calurpa, we also run, I want to say about 24 hours. We have a basic dip to just like let things rest for about 30 minutes and then turn back on.
Right.
But I don't even know if that's going to freaking affect it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we're at 30 minutes of freaking saving electricity. Big whoop. You know what I'm saying?
That's what, like, you got Dev here. Dev said, doesn't Chato need a break?
No,
I mean,
it's not in my opinion, it's not specialized enough, you know, because it doesn't have root structures. It doesn't have leaf structures. It's just this long, you know, spaghetti mat. There's no specialized functions. The chlorophyll typically is, I want to call it basic. I think you could. I don't see a problem with letting it rest, but we haven't seen the need to. We've seen it continually to grow, you know, when we're leaving it 24/7.
Yeah, running it 24/7 isn't going to hurt it, but I dictate my photo period based on my nutrients strictly.
Yep.
So
I do that just with very, very similarly with our skimmer too.
So what you're saying
bioload.
is they have not so I've not got eye, but if they're elevated, should I say? Elevated nitrates and phosphates, you'd keep it on 24 hours just to bring them down.
Exactly.
When
I would try
down,
to
put it down.
Yep.
Right.
Cut it back
pretty
to about
much,
18. Yeah.
So I pretty much run mine's 18.
How's it going, man? Yeah.
I pretty much run mine's 18.
Right. Well, that's what I'll do. I know there was elevated a little bit, so I'll keep it on 24 hours for a few weeks.
Yeah.
I'll check it anyway.
Yeah, you're going to notice that you might get some tuft of like hair algae or turf algae.
What, in my sump?
You know.
Yeah, I've gotten green slime in my sump, like right on the surface of the
I've already been cleaning the sump out. I've got OCD, Anna. I've already been cleaning the glass of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean,
I got a hitchhiker. What's it called?
Stomatella?
No, a hitchhiker algae. It's like it looks like lettuce. No, I love it.
Alvacia.
That's what it is. I feed it to my tanks. It grows in my I think it came on some potato.
Yeah.
And it just grows. It grows. It's like a flat, almost like a flat sheet of like lettuce. And I pull it out.
That's the same. Kid you not, that's the same stuff that the nori is made out of.
Get out of here! I got free nori.
No. Yeah, you got free nori. So
that's awesome.
Congratulations. A lot of people, a lot of people pay like freaking $5 for a freaking like little teeny tiny frag of that freaking Alvacia. You got it for free.
Yeah, I don't even know where it came from. I just looked in my sump and I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah,
and I
it's
threw
nice
it in
and
the tank.
green and thin.
Yeah,
and-
it literally
Yeah.
looks like lettuce, except not as white. It's like way greener than lettuce.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I
And
feed it to my tanks.
it's a nice bright green too.
Yeah.
And you could,
So
the light comes through it. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's all they show.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's probably been in my sump for a while, but
Mhm.
it probably just had to acclimate to the UFO lights.
To the
that I have.
lighting. Yep.
Yeah, so it probably just finally just like, all right, I'm gonna
Took
grow.
off.
Yeah, I'm just gonna grow now.
Yep.
So, and it grows pretty fast. It grows really fast.
Oh yeah.
So
That's why Japanese people eat it.
yeah, they're like
Self-sustaining.
they're like we want the seaweed that grow very fast. You know, what the hell?
Yeah.
What the hell?
What the hell? No,
What the-
see, that's Vietnamese.
What
That's
the hell,
bro? Vietnamese say that.
Not in New York. That's all Asians. What the hell?
No, hell no.
You see, you just said a hell no.
Yeah.
Let me stop.
Yeah, hell no. Nah, you feel me though.
But yeah. Oh man, dude, my tank is looking so good. Like I can't even. I need to leave the room because I just want to add stuff right now. I'm like, man, it looks good. Let's see if I can get it better. Let's like start pouring some bottles in there.
Just give it a hug.
Yeah.
Just go up there, give it a hug. And
Dude, like my Melanaris like literally like has a pot belly right now. How
Sweet.
like good he's living life. Like all my fishes literally like have a pot belly.
It always concerns me when people say that. I'll be honest, G, when they go, my fish are fat and healthy, and I think, but how does that work? Because if you looked at somebody and they were already fat, you wouldn't say they're healthy, right?
Not really.
Yeah, it depends on the kind of fat. Well, I said pot belly, not fat. So, like to me, that means their abdominal muscles are getting dense. You know what I mean? It's all the growth hormones I pour in the tank.
I chime back
But
in,
I
you know,
also-
making fun of fat people. I see how it is.
I'm just saying,
No,
make sure when
I
you're
get
feeding,
concerned.
Yeah,
putting on weight, just make sure they're getting minerals and vitamins as well.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people feed a lot of food that will put weight on the fish, but then the fish die and they go, oh, well, there's no parasites, there's no diseases, so maybe it's just one of them. But if you did an autopsy on the fish, you might find it had liver failure.
Fat.
Or
Liver.
because the liver was fat because of the food that you'd been feeding, not realizing that just because they were big and bulky, that actually inside they were unhealthy, you know?
Gotcha.
From the inside.
Yeah, dying from the inside, because people don't always think about that, because they buy the frozen, they buy the food off the shelf, and they don't look at the ingredient. You know, it's like if you ate ice cream all day, every day. You know, you might put on weight, but you're gonna, you know.
Yeah.
Pot bellies usually also concern me, Nick, because of the parasites. Because of the
internal
parasites.
worms and
Yeah. No, that I it's just because I know how I got them. You know, they were like skinny. So
Do you feed a lot of frozen, TMG?
I feed frozen when I can. I only feed frozen if my wrasses are out. My wrasses go to bed early.
Do you know the protein content in frozen food?
I'm gonna tell you right now. Hold on. I just fed them a cube. So I use what's this?
PE myces, right?
It's like 10 to 18, right?
Yeah.
Piscine.
Piscine. So crude protein 69.5%, crude fat 8.35, crude fiber 2.75, and ash. They put ashes in this?
No, you see my point? You see my point? What's in your frozen food, TMG? Oh, there's this ash. Hang on a minute, they put ash in there? Right, do you see my point?
That's a nice little filler.
Yeah. So that's my point is, you know,
I
know
why the
right?
ash is in there. Yeah. No, the ash is probably in there to because you know,
make your
some
fish
people
look fat.
No, you know, people, all right, you know, people eat charcoal. You know, people eat charcoal like as a detox because the charcoal. So ash is charcoal, so it's probably to pull the impurities on the way out of the fish. You know what I'm saying? Like active charcoal I don't know if that maybe it's just a Caribbean thing, but like
Cruz
people
will be
like
able to
mix.
say it. Cruz, you'd be able to say it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the way that they measure like the proteins and stuff is that they desiccate it. Desiccate means drying it out.
Yeah.
So when they dry it out, there's what we call some type of carbonization. Do you know what I'm saying? What they call organic ash. You know, like when you get cremated,
gotcha.
that's ash.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily charcoal.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now, if they said charcoal, activated carbon, then I'd say, oh, well, are they trying to detox the fish? Is there something toxic about it? And eating a little bit of it could help. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right.
But
what you can do,
Yeah, go ahead.
But what you could do, TMG, is by looking at the food that you've got and seeing what the content is. Then what you can do for that, you can also see what's not in the food, which they need. So then you can go, oh, okay, well, it's got this and this and this, but the diet of the fish, it also needs these vitamins and these minerals. So how do I add that into the diet to make sure they're getting everything? Yeah. And then you'll start to look at, food sprays and additives or different things you can mix in with the food that will provide that. So, you're giving them a balanced diet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we did with herps, with the lizards and reptiles. We did that with their food. We gave them calcium supplements. We gave them vitamins.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we used to roll them around in calcium.
Exactly.
We used to roll. I used to roll my pinkies around in calcium. They were so cute.
Exactly.
There you go.
The calcium powder. Why aren't we doing that for our reef tank?
Because nobody talks about it, right?
But maybe that's why certain fishes nip at corals.
To get a source. To get the source of what they require, they don't get in the diet.
Exactly. Boom.
So now it makes. Do you see what I mean, Tim G?
Look at that. Right? Yeah. Look at that. Y'all see more. I need me somebody super chat for that, man. Somebody super chat for that.
There's some sauce there, right?
I mean,
that's some sauce right there.
Yeah, if you feed a coral flame angel everything that he needs, he will not nip at your freaking corals.
But then what we see in the hobby is people saying, oh, no, I'm not going to keep a flame angel because the last one I had, it nipped at my coral because it's the fish. But they're not thinking because it was the diet I was feeding them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Giving him
they don't make the correlation.
Requirement. Yeah, requirement. That the fish himself naturally knew that he needed it, so they were getting it from elsewhere.
It's kind of like that unconscious thing on like people biting their nails or like calcium deficient. It's like just something unconscious
or
that
people,
we do.
Or the women eating clay over there in Arizona, that red clay, because they're mineral deficient.
Yeah.
During their pregnancy. Absolutely.
Why is there insect killer in my house?
Ooh.
There's like a can of insect spray. I'm about to lose my mind right now. I'm hiding it.
Just
like, I don't need any. No, I'm serious.
Garage.
No, I don't. Yeah, no, it's supposed to be in the garage. I don't even want to touch it with my bare hands right now. I'm about to put gloves on. Like that's how like anal I am with my tank. If I do anything, like any outside activities, like working, I like if I'm planting stuff. Like yesterday, I had to put in some vines, like grapevines. I'm not going to touch my tank for 2 days because I'm scared of pesticides and mold and stuff like that, mold inhibitors and stuff like that in the soil.
AL has asked a question in the text, Cruz. What is Salcon for? Oh, isn't that what?
I've always heard of.
Sorry, AL, I misread it.
Because people soak their food in like Salcon.
Oh, Salcon. It's typically the oils, like the omega-3s, a lot of the fish oils, emulsified. So basically, you're feeding your fish the fat, the healthy fat. You know how they say, when you see in the wild, the wolves, they ate the fat off the moose, and that was it.
Yeah.
They ate the belly, and that's it. They didn't eat the shoulders or anything else. They needed that fat. Yeah, and being that that animal has already created that fat, spent that energy, well, now all that fat energy is now easily transferred over to the wolf. It's one of the reasons why we can't eat clean food, and we need some oils in our diet, is because that's how our digestive system has been evolved. Do you know what I'm saying? If we eat nothing but clean, we will get sick. We need to eat a little bit of healthy oils, healthy cholesterol. You've heard all that thing, right? All about balance. All about balance. Everything's about balance. You know, so the Silicon actually adds the healthy oils back in. It smells a little bit, but it's very, very greasy if you notice, if you actually touched it. It's very, very slippery.
Is that the thing that's in PE myces that makes it stink so bad when you buy the frozen like mats of PE myces? Real PE myces, not regular myces.
I'm not sure.
Because real PE myces, because I heard they have like a patent that they can only make myces a certain way. That's why they're superior. It's disgusting. It smells like horrible.
What patent is that?
No.
We got a food processing
I
patent?
think something like they're the only ones. No, they're the only ones like allowed to harvest.
Yeah, they're the only ones allowed to
myces.
harvest from a certain place.
Or a certain time or something like that.
Oh no, that's licensing. It's not really a patent. It's a license.
Are they saying that in that area the PE myces are getting a certain uptake,
and I mean,
that's why they're better from that area?
Well,
exactly.
I mean,
something like that.
I mean, we all talk about the food being the secondary source of, you know, minerals, vitamins, and everything else, right? Like a secondary source, like say in that area, you know, we noticed that with Ecosystem Aquarium, the Miracle Mud, that's one of the reasons why we harvested from those rich areas, the mud. Does that make sense? So what we're doing is basically the shrimp or the, crustaceans that are actually growing there, they're getting the minerals, they're getting, the good phytoplankton, they're getting the phytoplankton bloom, they're also eating the bacteria. So it's all gut loaded. You remember how we used to gut load our crickets for freaking reptiles?
Yeah, I used to gut load.
And you feed them good stuff. Yep, you fed them good stuff. You know, the oats, you fed them freaking apples, you fed them, you know what I'm saying, with all that freaking mineral dust on it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's basically what they did with the freaking myces. They didn't clean it. Because they didn't clean it, that's probably the smell that you're smelling.
Gotcha.
Because that's probably the smell that we're smelling when we get shrimp that is not deveined.
Yeah.
Because there's bacteria in there. There's good stuff, and as things start defrosting and decomposing, well, that bacteria is still there, decomposing it inside, inside its belly or inside that digestive tract.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's one of the reasons why we don't rinse a lot of our frozen foods either.
Yeah, I don't rinse frozen either.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a very, very good nutrient export system, like the Cato that freaking O has, or you have a nice refugium like Paul's going to have pretty soon, or, you have a very, very efficient, skimmer and bacterial population, you don't have to worry about rinsing.
Also, I think sometimes I've seen people like put like, their frozen food in a jar and then test the phosphate content of that, which I personally think like that's a little bit facetious because because you're testing the concentration of the food in one little jar, while when it's put in the aquarium, it's diluted.
Dispersed.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, not only that, but I mean, you take a look at reef-roids. One little teeny tiny freaking like little plastic scoop, the one that you utilize for your test kits, that really, really tiny spoon, one of that can freaking drive your freaking phosphates up too.
Listen, man, I personal experience, when I first got the reef-roids, I got some on Christmas from like my aquarium box I got from Mass Aquarium. I got a sample of reef-roids and I started like going to town with it. And guess what? Yeah. The corals I fed right beside them, a few weeks, started developing cyano and stuff because, yeah.
A little bit too much. A little bit too rich.
A little bit. then I started looking at what like Billy fed, and that's why Billy is so meticulous when he's feeding, He makes sure like none falls to the sand and the coral gets everything that he's feeding. But yeah, that stuff packs a punch.
But that's the thing, though, is that you can actually use that because we need phosphate, to balance out for the bacterias, right? For the bacterial usage. So we do need it. And if you eradicate your phosphate, then you can get high nitrate because you need to have that balance. But that's why I know water chemistry is important, you know, magnesium, calcium, and alkalinity and all that. But I think sometimes what happens is we get stuck on that, and we don't look at, you know, like we're just saying to TNG, what's in your frozen food? Do you know what's in there? Because there's more to consider. There's other areas of the hobby that for some reason we don't have the discussions. Yeah, because we just focus on the chemistry, and that's just one part of the jigsaw. You know, what may be going wrong in your system, or why your fish aren't looking good, or why your coral are looking good, isn't necessarily flow, lighting, and chemistry. It might be something completely different, but we don't.
Completely simple.
Yeah, or completely simple.
TMG,
that we just don't look at.
I followed Nick's advice and I started making my own food. I never made a video of it. Just one of those things I just never got to. But in the end, it was cheaper because I bought about $25 worth of like clams, squid, a bunch of stuff. I put some seaweed in it, and it ended up lasting me for like 6 to 7 months. In fact, I had so much I had to throw it out because I thought it was in the freezer for so long. And I spent what I would have purchased one rod's food for, lasted me 6 months, and I had to throw out a lot of it. Because after 6 months, I thought, you know.
You didn't clean it very well too, right?
No. I shucked the clam. I took this. It was fresh stuff. Like I went to the fish
but you didn't
market.
have to clean. Yeah, you didn't clean out its insides and everything else, right?
No, I took.
And that's one of the things that I'm trying to point out is that what we consider clean food for our fish may be too clean.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where it's like so pristine that, you know, there's no waste products, there's no additional good bacteria that you're putting back in, there's no sand, you know, sand that they're eating that sand and consuming that sand for a reason. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
A lot of animals, they freaking scoop up the bottom of the freaking sand, you know, the sand bed. They ingest it for some reason. You notice that? You notice that, though?
I don't notice it, but I'm listening. I've never, other than like the sand sifting stuff, I've never noticed per se a fish like scooping up sand. I'll see fish picking at sand grains, but I didn't know they were actually ingesting some of it.
Yeah, they're ingesting.
There's a video on YouTube. Is the freshwater shrimp actually consuming the miracle mud? Actually, directly consuming it.
You could see it going into their, you know, into their stomachs and everything else. The shrimps are benthic. They stay on, you know, pretty much a lot of them stay on the sand bed, and then only during migrations are they, you know, pelagic, where they're actually in the open water, you know, trying to look for other stuff to eat or go to a new location. But
so
a lot
think
of times
about
they're just grazing. Yeah.
So think about this one, though. You know, the wrasse that we have in the system that you go, oh, this wrasse, I can't keep it with shrimp because it'll eat them. And then what do we feed that wrasse? Because if it's eating the shrimp that are at the sand, then it's eating the sand as well. But then when we keep just the fish, what do we feed them? Do we feed them sand? No, we just feed them food. So there's bits of their diet that they're not actually getting because they're not eating shrimp.
Yep.
They're eating processed food all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Eating too clean, as I call it.
Hey, I'm willing to experiment. I mean, I made my own food. I added some. I mean, every iteration gets better, but I was happy with it. It was cheap.
Try mixing a little bit of, you know, that slurry, that mud slurry. Just a couple of drops of it into the freaking frozen food before you freeze it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, no?
I don't have any on hand, but I'll see. I mean, I'll try it.
Yeah.
I could try with a small batch.
And the thing is, it might not be that you get a visible coloration of fish or something like that, but it might mean that your fish lives for 10 years instead of 7, you know, because it hasn't died of some kind of deficiency or liver
mineral deficiency
disease or because it's an extra process that adds on another few years to its life, you know.
And it's just another level to the hobby, you know. You get to the point where you want to see if you can. I didn't do it as a cost savings measure, but you know, when I looked at it at the end, I said, wait a second, this stuff lasts me 6 months. I would have gone through like a rod's food every month, which is like $23, $24, and I spent like $25 on raw ingredients, a little bit of time,
And I think that thing would have lasted me like maybe 9 months to a year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, just these little observations, you know, like when you're scuba diving and stuff, or when you're snorkeling or anything like that, and you're just like watching the natural behavior of fish. You know, they're far enough away to where they feel comfortable to do what they need to do, and you're not chasing them. You could actually watch them graze at, you know, certain things. Like you might see them picking at stuff, and you're like, why are you picking at stuff? You know, but you know that behavior of them constantly grazing along the sand bed. What else are they ingesting? You know, are they just picking the little invertebrates that might be in there? Are they also sucking up sand, you know, for some reason that we don't know about? I mean, you
That's the
remember
thing,
back
you've
in the
got
day.
free flowing substrate through the currents anyway. There's always stuff floating around in there. We try and keep pristine water. Yeah, we want to see clear water, but actually in the ocean there's stuff floating around all over.
Absolutely.
So,
and I mean, back in
Let
the
me
day.
just make a call. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay, 10-4. Back in the day, like say back in the 80s, okay? Oh, you remember, you remember how they used to say, yeah, goldfish, they only live for about 6 months, then they die. You remember that? I mean, with other fish too, like the betta fish. Oh yeah, he lives about 4 or 5 months, then they die. You know, I mean, but as we have gotten better, you know, with food, cleanliness, husbandry, we notice that they actually live a lot longer.
That's what they used to say about like Stony. Like that story, you could repeat it with pretty much anything. You could say the same thing about like corals. Like, oh,
yep. Before we used to say, oh yeah, this coral only lasts in our system for about 4 months, then it dies.
You know, Mike Paletta tells the story all the time when people say, oh, you can't keep stony corals, and then he said he saw somebody's tank with stony corals. He's like, what?
Yep, exactly. Mind blown.
Yeah.
What are you doing that we're not doing?
Yeah.
Lang had that tank that Mike was like, holy crap. You know, you have all these freaking SPS and they're alive, and you kept them alive for more than a couple of months. You kept them alive for a year and then some. You know what I'm saying? And you're coloring them up underneath these Yushios, you know, the freaking 20Ks. So what are you doing that's different than what I'm doing? That's where the note taking came into a big part of it. You know, it wasn't the science, it was the observations.
Hey, I guess we got some comments in the chat. Joe Salty Aquatic says, I thought they take the sand and rocks to help break down as a grinder. Acts as a grinder to mash the food up a little better than they would them by just digesting.
Yeah, some do. Hey, give me a second.
Hey, no problem. I know Paul said he went to go get his wife. Yeah, reef dudes. That's why I never rinse frozen. Yeah, I make my own. It was just an experiment. I mean, Nick gave me a list. I'll have to look at the list. I know it was squid, clams, some white fish. I bought a lot. It was a huge list. I got a nice list from Nick that I.
It was just a variety, really, of different types of stuff, so that you're getting a
mussel
blend,
clams, scallops,
blend of different things.
Squid, shrimp, yeah. And then I got some PE mysis, and I mixed that in. I cut up some seaweed fine, mixed that in. I put some Celcon in. I mixed that in. I didn't use, and I just blended it together. The thing that I'll do next time though is put it in something that makes it easier to break apart or flatten it, because I think the package is too thick, so it was too thick to kind of cut. But the fish,
I usually recommend if you get a freezer bag or some like cling film, you can use you put it in the bag and then flatten it out. You know, use a rolling pin or something to root, or a tin, you know, and flatten it out. And then, like you were saying, so it's thin. And then you freeze it, and then you can just still break off what you need to feed, let it frost and throw it in.
I tried doing that, but I didn't make it thin enough. So
you didn't do it thin enough, right?
Easy to break. But like I said, it was my first iteration, so you know you learn from it, and it was.
How did your fish react to it though?
They like it.
Yeah, exactly.
They like it, and then I also experimented with blending some a lot more than others. So the tinier ones, I find that I get a response from the corals. For the ones that I put, the highest blender where it basically pulverizes everything to a pulp. When you put that in the tank, you tend to get more floating particulates. So I'll turn off the return pump and let that almost like a snow. Yeah, and you get a good feeding response from it. While the other one, it's more of it's still blended, and the fish get what they more pick at it.
It's chunkier.
Yeah, but that's why I see exactly why Rod's food makes like chunkier pieces versus smaller. It was really interesting. I liked it.
That's the thing. It's another thing you can do where when you've done it, you feel satisfaction, because if you see a fish, gobbling it down, and you see your corals responding, it's like, well, I've done that. I didn't just buy it off the shelf and put it and go, oh, this product I bought works. It's no, I created that. I made that happen myself. So I think that's a nice, thing to do.
Yeah, I threw mine out after about 6 months, but I think I wasn't quite sure how long they would last. But it was fun. It was fun. I really did enjoy it. It was really fun. And everything benefited from it. Somewhat you blend this up with vitamins. I didn't blend any vitamins because I didn't know. But I put some Celcon in it. I didn't put any vitamins or anything. I basically took like mussels. I have the list here. Mussels, clam, scallops, some cheap white fish. I forgot the fish I use. I put squid. I put some shrimp in it. Like I basically, for some of the shrimp, I would say I cut the shell off at 3/4 of them. The other pieces I left the shell on. I didn't know what to do with that. I just figured, let me try and see, leaving some of the shell in and see what happens. Because I figured the fish aren't peeling the shell when they're eating, shrimp. When they're attacking shrimp and eating them, they're not peeling the shell. So let me try some with the shell, and it worked out well, man. It did work out well. I like it. It was a nice. I'm glad I did it. And to be honest, I haven't bought any of that high priced. Not because I don't think Rod's Fool and stuff don't make. And my wife was already giving me tips. So the next time she said she's going to blend it for me, which I think it's going to get better the second time around. So the first time it was messy. I made a mess in the kitchen. The entire apartment smelled like raw seafood. But the next iteration is absolutely going to be better. I liked it. I loved it. It was good. So I put a little piece of that and frozen, and then I feed pellets every now and again. But
because you still need the phosphates or phosphorus. Sorry.
Yeah. Dre said the shell should provide a good source of calcium. I believe. I don't. Maybe it does. I don't.
It's chitin. It's chitin.
I think the thing is, I'm not the only one that takes care of the tank, to be honest. And, when you have kids helping with the tank, you love to get the kids involved, but they can overfeed. So I think I've done a good job of sort of oversizing my filtration for, taking into account the fact that I'm not the only one that's feeding, that sometimes when my wife feeds, she might have a heavier hand than I am. And, whenever you have kids, they're going to have a heavier hand as well. So I'm happy with in terms of nutrients. I think my tank is at a good place now where nutrients are stable. Nutrients is not something I have to worry about. I think I love how my tank is doing now, man. I think it's stable. I think everything's looking good. I only have small SPS frags in it, but everything's growing. Polyps are out. Nothing is no longer brown. I don't have just brown frags anymore. They're starting to color up. So that's always a good thing.
Well, I'm about to run. I gotta do a voiceover on this video.
All right, DC.
So, not DC, it's the other black guy.
Oh, TMZ?
Yeah.
TMZ. No, TMG. Yep.
Sorry.
No, take care.
TMG.
Make sure you guys check the video.
All right, brother.
I think I'm gonna have to. I think I have to run to a cruise. Yeah, I got.
All right, no, not a problem. I do too. I got to go in.
All right, so Reef Dudes, Dre, Salty Aquatics, My Saltwater Journey, AL, Reef Community Worldwide, Haley, everyone else who's watching. Thank you for the super chat, guys. I know Reef Community Worldwide is in here, but I'm gonna boot him because we don't want to leave him by himself here. So.
Okay.
All right. So yeah. So Cruz, thank you for
Thank
everything, man. And I'll shoot you a message on Facebook a little later, just with my thoughts. You know.
All right, brother.
All right,
All
man.
right. No.
All right.
All right. I'll catch you later. Have a great one.
Take care. Thank you, guys. Bye.
All right. Bye.